How's it going, everybody? Very welcome to Irish Whiskey Night. Hope you're doing well. It's the night where we celebrate Irish whiskey. We've got 3 great drops of whiskey tonight, 3 drams of Irish whiskey that we'll be working our way through. You're welcome wherever you're joining us from. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. And if it's your second time, third time, sorry for your troubles, but we're in for a night of great Irish whiskey banter and chat. I've got 3 great guests sharing some really special whiskies with us tonight, all very unusual, very different, and great stories behind all 3 of them. If it's your first time with a 3 drams kit in your hand, I know we have some new members. Here's how it works. It's very simple. We have 3 whiskies in our kit. We're going to taste them from left to right, 1, 2, and 3. 1 is our first whiskey, obviously, and normally we spend about 20 minutes per whiskey. Tonight we'll spend half an hour because there's lots to get through with each of our whiskies tonight and each of our guests. I don't want to curtail the stories. We pour the whiskies. Our makers walk us through each of their whiskies, and then the floor is yours. If you want to ask them questions, if you want to find out more about the whiskies, you can, of course, do so. Put any questions you have in the chat. No questions are too stupid. Whiskey shouldn't be pretentious. There should be no gatekeeping. There's no rules. Everyone's on a journey. We're all at different stages of that journey of learning. So I learn from somebody here tonight, you learn from somebody here tonight, and then we'll all have a bit more crack because of it. So the goal by the end of tonight is that you have a better understanding of the people behind the whiskies as well, not just the pours. But I think it's always helpful for the people to share how the whiskey came about and tell us some of the little nuanced stories. I've already got some of the stories in advance of tonight, and it's really interesting. Some of the things I hadn't realized or hadn't known too about some of these whiskies that we'll learn tonight. So I think these little nuggets help us enjoy the whiskey, and it makes it easier for us to share that whiskey. Then next time somebody comes around to the house, we say, look, I want to pour you a drop of this, and here's why I like it. Here's a little story behind it. So that's the format, simple as that. Any questions you have about these whiskies, about Irish whiskey generally, throw them into the chat. Smart people in the chat might answer those questions for you. I might be able to answer those questions, and our makers might be able to answer them for you as well. If you're not yet a member of 3 Drams and you do want to tune in with a tasting kit in your hand, just go to 3drams.com and just sign up. It's month to month. You can come and go as you please. If you don't like a kit 1 month, you can pause your membership, come back another month. All I want to do is get more whiskies into your hands and get them in small formats before you spend your money on a big old bottle. So hi from people joining us from all over the country already. Limerick, Galway, Cork, Antrim, Bushmills, Cape Cod, all over the world. Great stuff. Let us know where you're joining from. We'll be bringing on our first guest in about 3 or 4 minutes, who'll be joining us, and that's Liam Brogan from Two Stacks. But we're going to work our way down the coast, down the east coast, and across the south coast tonight. We're going to start up in Newry with Two Stacks Irish Whiskey. That'll be our first whiskey tonight, which is the Cabernet Franc ice wine and 9-year-old whiskey that's unavailable to the general public unless you're 30,000 feet in the air. It's a collaboration with Aer Lingus. We're going to taste it tonight. You're going to learn about it. Some really interesting stories behind that rollout with Aer Lingus. Then we're going to come down to Dublin, and we're going to have a combined Dublin/Carlow discussion tonight with Pierce Lyons Distillery and Pierce Lyons Whiskey, because there's 2 distilleries involved in the second whiskey tonight, which I think makes for a very interesting story, and maybe one that's not of Irish whiskey. And then we'll finish down in Cork with a whiskey that has been assembled in Cork and sourced from elsewhere with a 17-year-old 17-year-old blend called Goleen Gold, and that has been put together by Lighthouse Drinks. So Pierce Lyons whiskey is a 12-year-old malt, which is a lovely drop as well. So we're starting with 9, going up to 12, going all the way up to 17, and by the end of the night. And I think it'll be interesting for you to compare not just age statements, but different styles as well. We've got a pot still malt and a blend, so I'd be curious to get your thoughts. Every time we have a tasting, there's always one person at the end of the night that says, tonight was the best night we've ever had. Tonight was the best lineup we've ever had. I wonder if one of you will say that tonight, if you like these whiskies. They're very, very different. If you've ever tasted them before, let me know. If you've been on an Aer Lingus flight and tasted Two Stacks whiskey, let me know, or the Goleen Gold, or the Pierce whiskey as well. Before we bring Liam on, just some upcoming bits and pieces as well. We have, next month, we'll be releasing a single cask of whiskey through Stories and Sips, which as a 3 Drams member, you get access to. We've got a great whiskey from Boan Distillery coming that's been aged in a chocolate bitters cask. I'll tell you more about that at the end of the evening tonight, and that's something to keep an eye out for. It'll be included in next month's tasting kit as well, so you're going to actually taste it before you have to splurge on the single cask. And as well as that, if you are at a loose end this weekend and you're looking to do something on Saturday, there are still some tickets available for our crossing between Dublin and Holyhead for a tasting at sea in collaboration with Stena Line. You might have seen the notices about that being sent out. So we're tasting 4 whiskies, all with connections to the sea, maritime connection. So I'll be telling the story of whiskey's evolution through ocean travel, exports, trade over the last 2 centuries. Some really interesting stories about ships, oceans, the effects of the sea on whiskey, and that's available on stenaline.ie. If you want any more information on that, let me know. And that's I think that's the few bits of housekeeping there. Who else have we got in the house? Tremor in the house, Kentucky in the house, great stuff. Doug is sipping Titanic 5, great stuff. All right, so here's what I recommend you do. If it's your first time with these tasting kits, really simple. Take any of the whiskies as we go through them tonight, but take your first whiskey now and pour a drop into a glass. Try and leave a bit behind in the bottle. There's 30 mils in each bottle. Leave a bit for later. Also, if you want to leave a bit in your glass, it's helpful to come back to it later and compare it with a palate that has changed throughout the night and has had a chance to open up, and you've tasted some other whiskies along the way as well. So pour a drop there, pour your whiskey number 1 and put it to the side, and we will bring on Liam Brogan, co-founder of Two Stacks, to have an old chat with us. Liam, how are you getting on?
Not so bad, Barry. Great to be back in Three Drams.
Welcome back. It's been a while.
Yeah.
You're joining us from Newry, Two Stacks, Whiskey Bonder. There's so much to your story that I want to get to tonight. If someone's not familiar with Two Stacks, how would you describe what you do and your own role there?
Yeah, well, I guess Two Stacks were kind of different from what everybody might assume that a whiskey company does, and that is to be a distillery. We're not a distillery. We're what's called a whiskey bonder. So we work with multiple distilleries, in our case throughout Ireland, only Irish whiskey distilleries. We, in a few different ways, work with them. So generally we can purchase different styles of whiskey. So your single grains, your single malts, your single pot stills, and blend them together. So not a blend from one distillery, but multiple distillery blends. We can also go to a distillery and in partnership come up with a unique recipe or a commissioned mash bill, as we would call it. So make a unique whiskey that could be something like a 100% rye whiskey with Boan, or a mixed mash bill, peated pot still with our Dara, some other, direct distillery collaborations. And then we can source, some of the older casks of, the Coolies and the Bushmills and maybe the odd bit of Middleton or whatnot that could be out there in the ether. And then, the exciting wave of new distilleries throughout Ireland. We're with 40 odd distilleries. So getting to be able to, taste whiskey, new makes up into the mature stuff that's now available, into the 10, 11, 12-year-old kind of new wave of stuff. Yeah, and then we just have the fun end of it, and that is, coming up with new custom blends, exciting sort of ways of doing cask finishing as well. We spend a bit of time on that, and just kind of getting ourselves out there and doing unique projects. So one of the strong points of being a bonder is we can work directly with bars and hotels and whiskey clubs to come up with something unique, a special bottling for themselves, for the club, or for the venue, whether that's, a 10-year-old that celebrates a 10-year-old anniversary, or just a style of whiskey that somebody wants to put out. And we export to, I think it's, up to 40 countries now, or in around that amount. So it's good, and we're well known for our dram in a can and our cream liqueur as well. So that's kind of Two Stacks in a nutshell, I guess. That we're flexible.
You're modest as well, because like the impact you've had on Irish whiskey in the short time that you've been in the industry in the grand sphere of things has been, monumental. The impact that you've had in shaking up blending, finishing, and delivery product, like packaging, has really changed how people, I think, consume whiskey, hasn't it?
I think, when we set out, you kind of have your, what are we all about? And it was kind of transparency was one of the things, innovation, not just for the sake of saying innovation, but trying to do some new stuff that maybe came to us. The creativity. And so when we say transparency, we always want to empower the consumer and let them know, as we're a bonder or an independent bottler, tell the source of where the distillery or where the whiskey's coming from, as much detail as we can. If there's a mash bill there, similar to craft beer, because myself and Shane, the co-founders, we started the company 12 years ago, initially working in craft beer and then transitioned into the whiskey world. But we took that kind of, you could say, geekiness of people wanting to know, not just, there's water, malt and hops used in beer. It's, what type of malts, what processes were used to make those malts different. And the same with hops, where do those hops come from? So you want to have a lot of geeky detail that you can go into. So similar with the whiskey, if there's something unique to tell about it, it's not smoke and mirrors. It's, here's the full transparency. So yeah, consumers liked us for that, I guess, from the start, that we put our blend diagrams in our products and things like that. And we put whiskey at a cask strength so people can enjoy it, full strength versus a cut down version, and all that type of stuff was important. And then innovation was, I guess, early on we launched with dram in a can. So using a 5-part blend and putting it then in a small 100 ml can and developing our range of that was another sort of innovation. And then we plugged a little bit of that into developing our Irish cream, the double Irish cream, with 8 times more whiskey than the standard in the market, double the cream content or butterfat percentage. So anything we kind of want to do with new products development, it's always comes from those things about those pillars, I guess, of transparency, creativity, or innovation, and trust with our community that followed us along the way or have joined us.
You've been very embracing of the community too, the whiskey community, and I've never heard no from you. You're probably behind the scenes. I'm sure you're cursing some of the things you have to get involved with, or some of the people rocking up looking for things from me. But you've always opened the doors and been very transparent and open about everything, and just welcoming, letting people be part of your journey, which I think has endeared you to so many along the way.
That's it. Yeah, with a great crack. I mean, I guess one of our main advantages was that we actually launched whenever COVID came around, and through media or channels like, collaborating with yourself to get online and get onto a live stream and tell our story. It amplified the effect of people knowing about us early on. And that really was a game changer. We weren't going into the traditional sort of field of, you have to maybe start slow, start in your home market, build a bit of brand recognition, go to the on-trade, try and get into bars and stuff. And then once people start recognizing, you might get a listing in a shop, or, it's a long road till you get into retail. But it was kind of flipped on its head a little bit, or we felt that, we've been able to leap a few steps, get really talking to the consumers, building the community first, or through Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, and these live streams. And then out of that, we had the Two Stacks Nation group. We connected with Irish whiskey fans of America and the guys in Ireland and around Europe, all over the world. And so that was kind of got our name out there really quickly. And we found ourselves winning retail listings in Australia, or, getting listed in Canada, or the monopolies in the Nordic countries, which you talk to, brands that have been in the alcohol game for a while. It's like, how do you manage that in a short space of time? It usually takes 5 to 10 years to get there, and even getting on a lure line, never mind in a format like a can. It was, I guess it's thanks to the community of building us up and getting us pushed on, which it's really helped us, grow the business and whatnot, and push forward.
It's great to see in airports. You see all the usual, the big brands on the shelf, and then you'll see Two Stacks as well. And I've always wondered, how did you manage? There's the big 3 or 4 in small airports around the world. It's mad. The big 3 or 4, and then Two Stacks. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think the next layer behind the scenes of what's our business strategies and whatnot. We know global travel retail is really difficult. It's a very expensive game. You have to have a lot of contacts. So we just got ourselves out there early as well in that space. And there's certain travel retail or like tax-free World Association shows and take place. Cannes in France is a big one that takes place in September, October each year. There's shows in Miami or sort of Florida State, could be Orlando or Miami or West Palm Beach for the Americas, duty frees and whatnot. So we just kind of made ourselves go to them or made ourselves available at them. And initially, you just buy a ticket and turn up, walk the floor and talk to people. And then next year, get onto a little tiny section of a stand on an agency. And then maybe you start growing that. And that's where you get the contacts. I mean, as we're tasting Aer Lingus, we've been pounding their door for 4 or 5 years trying to do this. And eventually when it comes around real quick. I mean, the two listings for Aer Lingus, and I have to pour my glass yet, so I'm going to get mine out of the tube. But
let's talk about this, because this is a huge collaboration in terms of visibility and, as you were mentioning before we went live, volume as well. But there must be a certain sense of pride of having. I mean, look, you tell the story, because a lot of people don't know what this is. This collaboration is. Help us understand what's going on with this whiskey.
Yeah. So as I say, like, we've been going to these shows. There's another one called it's in Hamburg each year in Germany. It's the World Travel Catering Expo, WTCE, and that is specifically for onboard catering. So you have all your food stuff, and then you have your beauty and cosmetics, and then alcohol is a part of it. So I first went to that, I think it was 7 years ago. So even prior to Two Stacks really being a brand, we did a beer for Icelandair. It was called 737 IPA because they launched a new fleet of 737 Boeing planes. And we did a 7.37% IPA, which ended up was quite strong, because on the first flight with the new 737, I think it's a MAX, like the CEO and a couple of the executives took the flight, and they all were drinking the IPA and sort of came off. That's strong, but they're from Iceland, so they're mad. I know they're good to be cracked. So kind of, we had a bit of knowledge from our beer days of these are the shows you need to be at if you want to be on an airline. So when we got launched in Two Stacks and we wanted to be on Aer Lingus, basically that was a part of our plan. We would go to the show and pitch, and you don't really actually pitch directly to Aer Lingus. They usually have an agency company, like a supply chain partner. And for a good few years, there was a company called Retail in Motion had that contract, and we banged their door constantly and pitched to them each year and never got anywhere with the tender. They just stuck with the usual. And then last year they switched partner to Donata. This kind of people in airports, you'd see Donata, like, the trucks loading up the airplanes with food and whatnot, and the drinks. So really, they were the new gatekeeper, and year one they took us on. So at Hamburg this year, which was in, I think, March, they said, like, can you guys launch by July, 1st of July? We're like, yeah, no problem. That's like, but is it not a custom can you're talking about? They actually had the pitches and all done and sort of rounding near developed. Like, if you give the word now, we'll have it ready. So it was all systems go, and we ordered up the cans. So we get these cans manufactured for us in China, and then we have to ship it over. So don't want to bore everybody too much, but like, the shipping channels are delayed at the moment. Everything has to go through South Africa or underneath South Africa instead of through the Suez Canal and all that good stuff. So basically the cans landed with us on, like, let's say the 20th of June, and we had to package them in the big long back-to-back shifts and have our first delivery there for the night of the 30th of June. And the first cans were on sale on the 1st of July. So it all worked out, but it was manic. And as you said, like, we did 50,000 cans, and then of this special commemorative bottling as well, we did 10,090 units. So it was really, like, because we got the nod to do the contract, we wanted to use some of the best styles of whiskey. So we wanted to focus and highlight single pot still Irish whiskey, because and a lot of people in the audience will know that single pot still would be one of our preferred styles of whiskey, and it's unique to Ireland. It's got GI protection and a whole lot of stuff. But this particular whiskey, and I'm tempted to nose it. Yeah.
And this is only available on the planes, right? Like this is a on the menu item on Aer Lingus.
That's it. Yeah, it launched in July. It'll once it's gone type thing. But they'll change menu again for late autumn into winter. I think around before October anyway. But we just said like let's forget about what the whiskies cost or whatever for us to make or whatnot. We just put our best foot forward and give the best we can. So pot still, it's from Great Northern Distillery, this pot still. So we've been working with Great Northern since we started, but this is the first distillation of pot still that GND did. We call it like the Brian Watts mash bill because back then it was, or initially it was 68% unmalted barley to 32% malted barley. And in the second year they did it, changed back to just a 50-50 mash bill. But we've had this as a 5-year-old version, a 7-year-old version, 6-year-olds and whatnot. And a Cabernet Franc ice wine we've used before, but these two casks had now reached 9-year-olds. So we selected them. So it's a single cask, of two hogshead size casks together. So yeah, the mash bill's unique and it's got lots of unmalted barley. So still only nosing it, but the pot still spice is coming through there. It's going to jump out in the glass.
It's so fruity. It's so peachy and orangey on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah. And then, the Cabernet Franc, it's so unique as well. We could talk about it for ages as well, but, Cabernet Franc ice wine, it's unique that it comes from Ontario in Canada. The grapes are picked when they're frozen or they drop below a certain temperature for 3 nights in a row. And then the grapes are picked frozen and you only get 1 drop of nectar or very sugary concentrated liquid out of each grape. So they yield a very small quantity from, a vineyard of these ice grapes. It creates a super sugary sweet wine, far more sort of grams of sugar per liter than say PX, which would be a sugary sort of sherry that works real well in casks. But also most ice wine or 90% of ice wine is made from white grapes like Vidal and Riesling and maybe a little bit of, I think it's Sauvignon maybe. But anyway, there's only Cabernet Franc used in a red version. So we knew that would be a great cask. So anyway, bring it to today. You're getting strawberry laces, those.
Yeah.
A little bit of cherry. Yeah. So it's just beautiful on the nose there. Like, it
really is.
There's just so much summer fruits and whatnot. And it opens
so
up really
much. Well. Yeah. Phenomenal on the nose.
Yeah. So like in previous batches, as I mentioned, like 5, 6, 7, that type of stuff, we did single cask bottlings and they would have been at cask strengths. But, for the airline, the special bottling we did, we brought it down to 43%. That's just held lots of the character. Like you hardly lose any of the character. It's very delicate and beautiful.
Stunning.
I guess we'll have a little sip now.
Sláinte. Congratulations on the collaboration.
Thank you. That's a super dram for the price of it and really the availability to get it on an airline. I think it's
so good.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what the price is on board. Do you have that from the magazine? I should have it.
Was it $9.50? Was that the price? Or?
Yeah, €9.50. Yeah, for this.
I think it was $9.50. I can't remember exactly.
No, you're right. The cans are $6.50 and the bottle's $9.50. But you get this nice little tube. It's all nice green and gold foil. It matches Aer Lingus's 90, or it is 90 year branding. With the bottle, and each one of them is numbered. So, if you buy one on board, you can keep it as a keepsake because they're all individually numbered as well. And you get that detail, the whiskey itself. So, it's definitely a proud moment for us. It's unbelievable to get on your national airline and
100%.
feedback
And,
from you know.
and to
So I
give
think,
them such a good whiskey as well. Like there's a lot of people on flights just knocking back a drink to try and get to sleep or get ready for landing in Ibiza, you know. You've
yeah,
actually given them a solid whiskey here. The fruit goes all the way through the palate. Like that sings with a lovely, lovely spice or lovely black pepper.
yeah.
Black pepper and strawberry just finishes it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely dram now. Like we're super happy with it. Like we, while we were getting the production, June, like we've had a great summer, but at June we kept the casks like going until the very end. We actually brought them out for a little bit of sunshine at the front of the warehouse to catch a few rays, just heat up a little bit. Just our nursing the casks right up to the last day of bottling, So it was.
You've done that before.
We knew it was good, so we're delighted, and you do get worried a little bit, we're cutting it down to 43, like that's the bare minimum that we would go to, like, and hopefully, because when you taste it out of the barrel, but it just cuts so beautifully as well, which it's fantastic, and I'm just back from holidays myself, and I flew Aer Lingus and bought one on the plane, and then drank it at the hotel. One of the nights when I was staying there, and it's lovely, like, So the sales have been astonishing. Like, so the cans, they're selling about 250 cans per day on average, and if we had this running for a full year, it would sell like 90 to 100,000 units on board, which I think Jameson tops out about 70,000 5CLs a year, and the next whiskey I think is Jack Daniels would be 35,000 units, so it's like the airline can't even really, they're great. They're surprised or delighted, I suppose, that how well it's selling. And I think it's even going to rise because initially it was meant to be for European, and then it was going so well that they now have it out on all routes, really, the transatlantic routes to the US and whatnot. So some people, were looking for it, and maybe on the first few flights it wasn't available, but now it should be well sort of on every flight, I guess. And but the quantity of the bottles is running very low, so I think you might have to be picking up the last few in the next month, really, or a few weeks. The cans might last into the sort of winter time,
And they're different liquids, are they? The can is the regular pot still, is it?
So yes, the can as well. It's a select batch, you could say. So it's like our triple cherry pot still, which is now a core for us that we spent, I guess, 6 years really developing. It's been 3 years in bourbon, and then it goes into PX, Oloroso, and Amontillado casks, and then vatted back together again. Shane's filling us in on the prices, or is he?
950 cans, bottle 12.
Well, I knew it was something like that, but yeah, I think that represents good value when you compare it to like the other 5CLs, and it's a good offering with can and bottle there at the same time.
That's got to have been you going on holidays on Aer Lingus, ordering your own whiskey, bringing it to the hotel, sitting down, going, I've arrived. Like, that's got to be a pinch me moment, surely.
It was good. Like, I could have just brought one with me, like, because we might have wanted to.
No, you have to order it.
Yeah. And then drink a can on the plane. That's amazing. Yeah.
That's unreal. It would make you want to take an Aer Lingus flight now just to be able to order this, because how else are we going to get to taste it? Like, we'd happily drop the couple hundred in the flight just to buy the 12 euro bottle. Like,
yeah. Well, I suppose I could let a wee secret slip as well, that there's another can going on board Aer Lingus in the autumn winter. I'm probably breaking embargo rules here and whatnot, but yeah, look out. There's maybe a desserty type liquid, if you know what I mean, going in on board. The old double cream.
Oh,
stuff.
really?
Yeah.
Do I have one here? I might have something here. Oh, wait a second. No, I have the bottle. I don't have the can.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's good. This whiskey,
that's brilliant.
It's gone so well that they're, coming back for the cream liqueur, which it's awesome. So get those Aer Lingus flights booked up.
We'll keep tagging Aer Lingus, lads. If you fly Aer Lingus and you buy the whiskey, would you ever tag Aer Lingus so they start seeing the impact of increased sales in flights just to get the whiskey? That'll be a first, I'd say. There's nobody booking a flight to get the Jameson. Like, we can get that everywhere. We love Jameson.
Yeah. I was down doing the training with the Aer Lingus, flight staff, and it's a good idea. Out doing the training, you go airside and you go into basically the room where they check in and out, and there's staff going, the flights coming in, pilots walking around, all that sort of stuff. So, like, we had a lot of engagement because, the week before, Milano Pizzas or Pizza Express were in cooking pizzas, and everybody was sort of like, they weren't getting much love in the sampling table, but even though we were in, we weren't allowed to sample because couldn't really give alcohol to them when they were about to fly. But
yeah,
they were all over loving it, and we had to be competition going and discount codes and stuff. So I think a lot of the sales are actually the staff want to get the bottle, it's something nice to keep or gift and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of a demand from the air crew themselves, which is great. And then we're going back to do their roadshow in October. They do like over 2 days, because it's hard to get all the crew at one time. So the hotel near the airport, we're back down doing a sort of a roadshow with them. So hopefully it's a long lasting relationship. We're delighted to get the cream, even though I shouldn't be telling anybody, but get that in next, and then who knows, we might get another custom can or another can of whiskey on board. And so if everybody keeps tagging us, maybe it'll happen.
That's brilliant. I'd say there's a black market now of Aer Lingus crew smuggling these to auctions. So there'll be €150 in the auction sites for a little mini tube before we know it.
That's it. Yeah.
Jamie wondering, any chance we're able to buy these? Yeah, if you book a flight, it's the only way. That's the and look, you got an exclusive tasting here with this here in Three Drams. I messaged Shane and Liam a while back saying, look, as soon as they broke the news about this, saying, can we bring you on and celebrate it? Even if you don't have this whiskey, can you just bring something with you? I want to tell this story about the collaboration because it's such good news for a small business, really, to be able to get such a listing. And he managed to get the actual whiskey, which is amazing. But now the only way to get another bottle of it is to actually go to the airport, book that flight, go to the sun. Yeah.
We say we'll do 10,000 on 90 bottles because we're all about the 90 here, And then we'll do 90 mil of whiskey in the can, celebrate 90 years. So when we got the 2 single casks, cut it down to the 43, there was just enough liters left that you got the dibs on it, and we went down to get bottled for 3 Drams as well. So we can't buy it up. It won't be online. We can't sell it. It's Aer Lingus's, collaborative product. So
amazing.
So that's cool. We'll see what we'll do for their 100th year.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you might get the can back up to 100 mils.
Yeah.
Simon wondering, did he see the cans on EasyJet or Ryanair as well, or is that yourselves? No, not yet.
Not yet. No. There's a few conversations. Maybe next year at the Hamburg show with our cans coming up. So there'll be ongoing conversations with various airlines. But no, you don't want to do it all at once. We want to give Aer Lingus a good run at it. At least a good while, and it's not that it's guaranteed to ever get another airline, but we're just happy with this, and we'll celebrate this for the next.
It's a huge achievement. Like, it has to just be sung from the rooftops. Like, it's just such great news. I'm delighted to see so many people are so happy for you and enjoying the whiskey as well. Tom says it's a better price than in his local pub. You were also you were a great participant, a key participant in the Irish Whiskey Cruise last year, yourself and Patrick from Cologne, and there's still people talking about your participation. And the closest to getting us thrown off the ship was your recommendations that everyone dress up in robes, in bathrobes at nighttime and storm the bar and for special pours of 2 stacks. And everyone miraculously turned up in bathrobes, and with the hotel manager wondering how is he going to curtail the madness. That was all your suggestions, like.
I know. Well, you spotted me and Patrick coming out of the spa on day one, shortly after getting on the robes, and there was a bit of a this good idea. So yeah, no, it was great. It was funny that maybe a quarter of the participants thought it was real and actually turned up, but then once people started arriving, they ran back to the room and got their robes straight away. So within 20 minutes, the whole place was covered in whiskey drinking, rope wearing people. So it was good fun. Man, that was definitely still the best tasting ever. Doing the private island tasting in the sea with all the whiskey cruise people. Like, it was, you couldn't beat that. Like, Caribbean.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, like if you haven't seen the pictures of it, we were at a private island. We had a tasting in the surf, 2 stacks in Killowen, up to our waist. We had little floaty devices and things for floating cans and bottles on. All the guests came into the water up to their waist, and it was just the most incredible tasting of all time, pouring whiskey while looking at the ship behind us, the golden sand, 30 odd degrees. I mean, there'll never be a tasting to beat it.
No, I don't think so. A bit of confession to make. I can't actually wait until Cruise 2.0 that I've actually got a cruise booked for the Caribbean in February. So
stop.
Yeah. Myself and wife and kids are going. So can't wait for it either.
Well, look, there won't be enough whiskey on that. You might have to come back for the second whiskey cruise with us in the Mediterranean in 27.
I'm scoping out one of the bigger ships for ideas for you. I'll give you the feedback, but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but actually, it's Royal Caribbean, and we do. I don't know if it's on every ship or if it was just a special, but we've had the cream liqueur on Royal Caribbean, which is great in bottles and some of the bars. So yeah, that comes through the duty free channels, which are it's amazing the reach you can get.
Well, can would be great on a ship like that. Imagine the volume you'd do of it with a can on a ship with 6,000 guests.
Yeah, one for breakfast, one for lunch, one for dinner.
You wouldn't be moving for cans. There'd be cans everywhere.
The original cruise can was a great dram in a can too. Now
you did a great can for us. I think I have it. Do I have one here somewhere? Maybe I do. Maybe no. I think I have it locked away somewhere. But you did a great cruise canning for us. It's not these ones, is it? No. Yeah.
It was a pina colada, hard whiskey.
Pina colada, yeah. The rum.
Pineapple brandy and coconut rum cask finished. Pots de lamb malt. Yeah, it was lovely.
And do you still have any of those left? I think you had some of those available for sale for a while. Or they're gone?
I think it would do, actually. We've got like a wee half mixed jumble palette, and I haven't been pushing them. I haven't put them out in the shop because in one sense it's like I don't want to let them go. But yeah, there might be a few knocking them out for cruise number 2. Relive it. We'll hit you up.
Tom has four of those tropical cans left for the rest of the summer. He's nursing them. It's going to be a long summer, Tom. Reggie's going to be on an Aer Lingus flight Saturday. Jeez, those flights will never be more enjoyable than with 2 stacks going up and down in the trolleys. Like,
yeah, it was funny. Like, I got a quick look, although it was early days when I was down for the training with Aer Lingus. They were on the planes about 2 weeks, and they pulled the data, and it says, your best selling flight so far is to Nice in France. You're like, it's not really a big whiskey drinking flight, but it's interesting. It's usually Germany or the US, like Chicago, Boston, New York, and then I found out later that day that Marty McShane, who's a big 2 Stacks fan, was on that flight and just bought them all. The trolley car comes on. He had the light pushed. Give me 8 2 Stacks.
Stop. Will they restrict the number that people can buy? I wonder, because people will be doing the dog on that, like.
Yeah. I've seen a picture. Somebody has a pyramid of them. So
Yeah.
they must have cleared out too. But yeah, that's great. And the flight attendant staff have said the feedback from passengers has been excellent. Everybody's maybe they've recommended, oh, there's a new whiskey, try it.
Yeah.
People are saying, oh, that's awesome. So it's just brilliant all around.
It's a smashing whiskey. We should charter an Aer Lingus flight just so we can get access to the old whiskey. Whiskey. We've done everything else: buses, cruises. It's time to get a plane.
That's it. So.
Liam, pull in the contacts there for us. Get us a cost price charter. We go to these two.
There we go.
Listen, this is fantastic. Just huge congratulations again on the listing, yourself and Shane. Shane's out in Australia. He's in the comments there. Best luck to your marathon, Shane, if you haven't done it already. And hopefully we'll all get a chance to try this on a flight. And lads, if you're flying, will you tag Two Stacks, tag Aer Lingus, and tell them that you booked the flight just because Two Stacks is on board. You wouldn't know what would come up next on next year's listing. We'll make it as easy as we can for you. And thanks again for giving us the few drops that were left for the kits here this month. Just, we're very lucky. We really appreciate it.
Not a bother, Barry. Any time at all now. Good man.
Best of luck with the next projects. I know we've got a few bits and pieces in the works. Is there anything anyone should look out for before we let you go? Anything you want people to know about that you'd like to draw some attention to?
Well, I suppose, straight after the launch there of Aer Lingus in July, we had another launch for the Fla in Belfast, which was an amazing week. It was fantastic. It's called The Humours of Whiskey. We did a collaboration with a Belfast artist called Jack Coulter. So we had a delay on our boxes being delivered. The old UK customs held them up for 3 weeks. Just that sort of carry on. But they're eventually getting dispatched tomorrow. So anybody who's purchased and hasn't received yet, the balance is going out tomorrow. But I think there might be down to the last 10 boxes. So people, you can search on YouTube for The Humours of Whiskey, Two Stacks. It'll bring up the live painting and the song. So I think that's a good one. And then, yeah, in terms of between now and sort of the rest of the year, there's definitely going to be a few more Two Stacks things coming out of the, so we'll have our Bonders Club, which is a kind of a one-off €30 subscription to get you access to some Dream Drams, which are pretty cool. We do little gold dram in a can, one-off kind of single cast picks, or not even full single cast, just 20, 30 liters here out of cast to do 200 or 300 can drops, and they're really cool. And there'll be a few more interesting drops for online purchase. But no, keep an eye out. And thankfully, we have a few launches happening in GB and Tesco and WH Smith and places. So yeah, we're getting out there a bit. And
you really are. That you've had more releases in the last year than Middleton Distillery.
There you go. But they're coming out with a new can soon too.
Well, listen, imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Indeed.
Listen, we'll let you go. You're a great man, and always appreciate you joining us, and always enjoy the crack. Sláinte, and thanks for a great whiskey. And congratulations again to yourself and Shane.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Brian.
Sláinte, all the best.
See you later.
How about that? So if you start a small business, who knows, in a few years you get a big listing like something like Aer Lingus. It's just great to see. It's just such a good news story. I was dying to share it, and we're very lucky to get to taste the whiskey as well. Keep the comments coming in, the feedback. Lots of crack in the chat here tonight. We've got coming up in the next 90 seconds, I'm going to bring on Conor Ryan, Head of Production and Whiskey at Pierce Lyons Distillery and Whiskey Company in Dublin and further afield, who's going to chat about the next whiskey. So pour dram number 2. If you've got a second glass to hand, take out dram number 2, which is the middle one in your box. And that's the Founder's Choice 12-year-old from Pierce. So I'm going to pour half of my bottle in there and keep the other bit for a little bit later. I kept going back to the Two Stacks bottle there. I'm down to the last 10% of that little bottle for the end of the night. That's just such a good whiskey. I'm just blown away by that Cabernet Franc ice wine. So good. So pour your drop number 2 and we'll put it to the side there. If you've just joined us, you're very welcome. We're tasting through 3 whiskies tonight, 3 drams for Irish Whiskey Night. We're meeting the makers, the people behind the whiskey. They're going to share the stories behind their whiskies, and they're going to take your questions as well. So we'll spend about a half an hour with each of our makers tonight. Conor Ryan is up next, and then we'll meet John O'Donovan from Lighthouse Drinks to round out our night. So throw your whiskey questions into the chat, anything at all, we'll get to it. Any comments, feedback, complaints, abuse, we'll tolerate a certain amount of abuse, but not a whole lot. But listen, with that, we'll go to Conor Ryan. Conor Ryan, head of production from Pierce Lyons. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me on this evening.
Great to see you. It's been a while.
It certainly has.
Are you in Cork, Dundalk, Gortahawk, or Glenamaddy?
I'm in Cork. I'm in Kinsale right now. I was in Dublin yesterday. And for anyone who's tuned in because they saw this young, fresh-faced boy on the image that Barry put up today, and you feel like you're catfished because you're after seeing this dude now with a grey beard. That was Barry's photograph, just so you know.
I thought that picture I chose. I thought, is that Conor's little brother? We should hero him. We'll put up his little brother there and give him some exposure. Listen, you've barely aged. You look the same as you did 15 years ago.
Actually, I was able to tell by the bottle that was in front of me that was 8 years ago.
Listen, none of us have any room to stand on, like with graying hairs and beards. Nothing's getting any easier for us, I can tell you. Whiskey ages us, like.
Well, absolutely. But actually,
anyway,
I'll come back to that picture in a minute and the bottle that was in it because it's great.
Right.
It's actually a precursor to drinking. Yeah, no. So it was actually kind of fortuitous in a way.
I'll have to put up a side by side. I have it here. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I got a message from Grace. All right, at Pierce Lyons saying Conor's he's gonna think people are gonna think you were catfishing. All right, with that photograph, we'll put it side by side.
I messaged Grace and said, "Are you winding me up? Did you give that picture to Barry?"
People are gonna expect a picture now of you in your school uniform or something in short pants. It's not that bad, like. All right, I'll show people what it is, right? We put it up here on the screen. How do I share this? Oh yeah, here we go. There he is, look. You look the same.
Yeah.
Listen, we're not getting any younger. God bless your good looks then, and God bless your good looks now.
Thank you.
Right. Conor, you have an illustrious career in whiskey and in drinks in Ireland. You are an oracle of knowledge when it comes to whiskey and wine and cheese and production and never-ending things. Every time I see you presenting on something, it's a whole new topic that you seem to be an expert on, which is incredible. To people who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, would you share who you are and what you do with Pierce?
Absolutely. So, as the name would suggest on the slide, my own name is Conor Ryan. I've been with Pierce Lyons Distillery now for 10 years in October. So the distillery that you know of, or you might know of, if you Google Pierce Lyons, has been open to the public since June 2017, and I joined in October 2016. Before the distillery opened, and when the first spirit from the stables of Pierce Lyons was released, and that was the Halfpenny dry gin. And we've had many releases since, but that's where we started. So that was, as I said, the guts of 10 years ago. As you mentioned yourself, I mean, my own background, for anyone who wonders, I suppose 10 years ago in Ireland, there wasn't a lot of distilling going on. So a lot of the time for me anyway, I got the job by luck, accident, and circumstance. I started working with the distillery as the global brand ambassador and also working with the distillery with regards to blending whiskey with Garrod Cahill, who's there, our head distiller at the time. And just about putting together a whiskey narrative before the distillery opened up, because my own background before that was in hospitality, chefing, on-trade, cocktails. Long story there. I suppose someone asked me when COVID came in, and actually I only got out of the hospitality industry when COVID came in. I was in the hospitality industry for over 30 odd years, but working as a chef, I think, and training as a chef and working as a chef is the piece of my background that actually allowed me to work as in the blending side of things, because flavor is flavor. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Even when Liam was just talking there, I was thinking, what a great concept to use the ice wine on board, because when you're up in the air, 30% of what you can taste from a sweetness point of view and from a salt point of view is gone because of the air cabin pressure. So if you have something that's a super sweet whiskey up in the air, it's going to taste so much better than another comparable whiskey that you'd normally be used to drinking on the ground. So great move there. But flavor is flavor. And that's how I happened in. A friend of mine was the commercial manager with Pierce Lyons at the time and just asked me to do some consulting with him. And I literally just stayed,
Tell us about Pierce Lyons. To me, maybe the most beautiful distillery aesthetically, architecturally in Ireland. It's an astonishing work of architectural genius, a restored church. Help us understand a little bit more about the distillery and where it is.
So if you look at a glass spire, and you look at the bottom base of the spire and you look behind it, for anybody who doesn't know the geography of Dublin, you'll see kind of a black silhouette jutting up in the skyline. That's a small beer you might have heard of called Guinness. So anybody who's been up around James's Gate area, we're just on an opposite street to Guinness. So when you're looking at it from that other angle, how do we end up there? It's named the Pierce Lyons Distillery after sadly passed away now, Dr. Pierce Lyons. Back in 2012, Dr. Lyons had a vision to come back to Irish whiskey distilling. And for anybody who knows our history, you'll know that he was involved in the Middleton distillery back in the 73, 74, 75. He was actually there for the decommissioning of John's Lane. It worked in the labs up there and was there when that was finishing up, John's Lane in Dublin. So his history in Irish whiskey is incredible. And he went away and specialized in yeast. We're going to fast forward and make a small story, and set up a company called Alltech that allowed him to open up a brewery in Lexington, Kentucky in 1999, adding a distillery to the site in 2008, wanting to come back to Irish whiskey, ended up at this incredible site in St. James's Street, in St. James's Church, because that was his family's attending church when he was growing up. So one side of his family was from the Liberties in Dublin, and Pierce himself and the Lyons family, they grew up in Dundalk. So the first funeral he was ever at was his granddad's funeral in that church, and it subsequently turned out after he acquired the church, it was falling down, run down, decommissioned since the mid-60s. He realized he'd 9 relatives buried in the church.
Unreal. Astonishing story, and very sad passing too, that he hasn't but his family has got to carry forward the legacy, and together with yourself.
Without a doubt. I mean, thankfully Pierce got to see the place opened and functioning. He passed away sadly and suddenly in March 2018. He'd seen his vision come to fruition in Dublin, and of course, like the architectural work, the glass spire, which is known as the Liberty's Lantern, all the work of his amazingly creative wife, Mrs. Deirdre Lyons, and the two of them together, a force of nature. And that's how we now are kind of curators of this building. Pierce always liked to say that we're only here, we're minding this building for now. And the history of the area and that church and and his family and the grounds. Even I mentioned John's Lane, James Power is buried in the graveyard there. So, we're curators for this church for this time. There's been a church there for 800 years, and as it stands today, it's been there since 1860.
It's one of those wow moments when you come in the doors and you turn around the corner and the church opens up to you, and the altar of distilling opens up to you. It's a remarkable reveal that I'm sure, like, you hear no end of oohs and ahs as people come in from the porch.
I mean, I never get sick of seeing the place going in there. It's incredible. A lot of people have key fobs to, check into work. And the key that I have, it's actually in my car. You could use it as a weapon. It's like a long metal flat on. And you're working somewhere special when the key to go into work is about 8 inches long and it's got a big loop on it. And that's our key for work.
Brilliant. You have brought a whiskey for us tonight, a special whiskey that I'm excited to talk about and hear more about. The Pierce whiskies. You've been busy doing lots of things that a lot of people don't know about. Yes. Everything from your growing of your grain to the unusual journey that your distillation has taken since day one to today. And I think there's a lot of that tied in with this whiskey. Tell us a little bit about this whiskey before we start sipping on it, because this is one I don't think you see a lot of.
So when we released the Pierce whiskies to the market back in 2017, we had our own whiskey, and this will be a head scratcher for some, but we'll tell you why. We had our own whiskey in three of the offerings that came out. One of them's gone now. So our distiller's choice and our original had our own malt and sourced grain. The founder's choice, the 12-year-old, was a sourced whiskey. It was a double distilled Cooley malt. So that was always our 12-year-old. But in the Pierce whiskies from day one, it's been our own malt, our own distilled malt, put into the bottles, because when we opened in 2017, that wasn't the first time Pierce Lyons had distilled in Ireland. We were distilling quietly for some people, but most people here will probably know. We were distilling as a whiskey company in Carlow from 2012 to 2015. Now, I sent this picture in here. This will be a picture that very few people here would have seen before, because it's not something that we ever kind of use, just for maybe some select groups. And when Barry approached and said, "Hey guys, do you want to join in at Three Drams?" And we said, "What are we going to do?" And we said we do a 12-year-old. And the reason we did this 12-year-old with the attendees here tonight is that it's the first time we're telling people a change of tack, a milestone reached for ourselves as a whiskey distillery. So we've always had our malt in our blends, or Pierce 5 or Pierce 7 or Pierce 12, a source malt. These pictures here are unseen photographs of our stills, the stills we saw on the altar of St. James earlier on, our Kentucky Vendome stills. And anyone with a keen eye, if you look down actually on this still on the bottom left of the black Vendome plate, it'll say, I think, July 2012.
Yeah, it does.
July 2012. Yeah. So these were fresh. These were fresh off the production line, fresh off the boat. And where these stills are now, in this picture, are set up on a maisonette in Carlow Brewing inside with Seamus O'Hara. So because of the Alltech Brews and Foods Fair, I won't explain what that was. Pierce Lyons, Seamus O'Hara would have had a relationship. Pierce wanted to had these stills coming over and had the vision after buying the church that these stills were going to be set up on the altar of St. James and the renovation take place around it. Well, 2 weeks after the church was purchased by Dr. Lyons and Mrs. Lyons, it got turned into a national monument. So the plan of dropping the stills into Dublin and starting to distill had to be put on the back burner, but not to be deterred. And I suppose it's this slight silver lining to having our budget blown up by 5 times and having to operate within a national monument. These stills were set up in Carlow, and because of that, that is how we had our own malt in the blends when we opened up to the public in 2017. Now, when these stills were set up in Carlow and we started distilling, Jack O'Shea, the infamous, the illustrious, the absolutely lovable Jack O'Shea, the man on the left there, was our head distiller and is, as always, a very good friend of ours. So you got Jack on the left. We got, sadly, that's John Lyons, Pierce's brother, in the middle, and we got Hal Jervis, one of our European managers for Alltech, on the right. And for the keen-eyed people, if you look at the top of the barrels, the tops of the barrels will say the 16th of the 11th, 2012. So the first time we started distilling in Carlow in September 2012, but obviously that was a commissioning in process. The first whiskey we put into a barrel are those casks there, and that was in the 16th of November 2012. And at that time, when we started distilling and when we put whiskey into a cask, we were only the 6th operating whiskey distillery in the country. You've Jameson and Bushmills, they can argue about who started first. You'd Cooley, Kilbeggan, West Cork distillers, then ourselves. And we never made a very big deal about it. Well, it was a big deal, but actually 10 years ago, there wasn't that many really interested in knowing about the big deal that it was. And then we never spoke about it a lot since. But now we can tell you this evening that the 12-year-old, we've migrated or changed over from the source 12-year-old to our own Carlow distilled 12-year-old. So the Pierce Founder's Choice now is served at 43% natural color, non-chill filtered, the usual that it was, but it's moved from being a sourced spirit to our own 12-year-old bourbon barrel-aged malt.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, this is whiskey history being revealed here, behind the scenes details, leading up to this beautiful lemon drizzle cake malt whiskey. So this is a Carlow via Dublin. Well, all Carlow. Yep, nothing happened in Dublin. Yep. Nothing happened in Dublin.
This is a single malt distilled only in Carlow, on the Kentucky Vendome stills, so a silent distillery in a way. Those stills got moved from Carlow to Dublin and got recommissioned in Dublin, and we've continued on distilling there. We use the same yeast, we use the same barrels to age the whiskey, the same cut points, and obviously the brewing equipment was different. But this is a coming of age. We now, in a core release, are able to put 100% our own single malt distilled by Pierce Lyons into our bottle. Now, we actually changed this we actually drizzled it out onto the market without telling anyone back end of April. And what I was doing was trying to see if there was any feedback or people were going to start going, hey, this is a completely different beast from what we're used to.
Yeah.
Because if you tell people something's different, they'll look for the differences.
Yeah.
It's one of the, so left it out in the market for many months and just thought this was a good opportunity to actually tell the wider whiskey world that this has changed. How somebody will tell the difference of the bottle if you're looking to know exacts on it. There is just here. The bottles with the Carlow malt are going to have 6 copper rings, and the bottles from our sourced malt will be a solid timber cork. So there's going to be 6 copper rings, and that's to signify the 6 generations in the Irish whiskey business, Lyons family before Dr. Pierce Lyons, before Dr. Mark Lyons took over the helm after his dad sadly passed away. So Mark Lyons himself would have done a master's in brewing, distilling, and Harriet Watt, and
Yeah.
a PhD in biochemistry, and fermentation. So this malt here, I suppose, is the vision of Pierce Lyons dropping Kentucky Vendome stills into Ireland back in 2012. Now this malt itself was a 2014 distilled malt. It was distilled in the first quarter of 2014.
Okay.
But as mentioned, we have malt from 2012, late 2012, and all of 2013 as well.
This is, I mean, you're bamboozling us. There's so much coming at us here now. First of all, this little Easter egg of the 6 rings is genius. I love this. This is great. So now we've got something to look out for when we next look on the shelves in Dublin Airport or in the shops. We'll see which one has the solid wood and which doesn't. Also, the fact that distilling took place, if I'm right, your first distillation was just a few weeks before Dingle then?
Dingle casked their first casks on the winter solstice, I think. So they put their liquid into wood on the 21st of December. And yeah, so actually, yeah, so like month, 5 weeks before, and that's it. But sure, that's a blink of an eye or a sneeze in the whiskey world. You know what I mean?
It is, but it's a fascinating little nugget that you were quietly distilling away in a less of a tourist destination, perhaps. Carlo, only slightly less of a tourist destination than Dingle.
If you can find it. No, I mean we were blessed to be there. We now have whiskey that is, well, in November turning 14 years old, and to be able to put in a core release of your own spirit is quite a significant milestone for any distillery to be able to put 12-year-old into your portfolio. And what I was saying earlier on with the whiskey. I see a question coming in there from Laurie, and the ring.
He's answered. Yeah, he answered that. Yeah.
So what was it? Oh yeah. So the picture that you had earlier on, that I noted in 2018 was, that was a Pierce 5-year-old single malt release, and that whiskey was done. There was a cask strength version for the airport, and then 45% ABV for retail, and it had that copper label. And that whiskey is literally the precursor to this whiskey. So that was a 5-year-old malt I got to stand with, and the day we released it. And now that whiskey was from, actually there was some of the casks in that were from 2012, some were from 2013. But yeah, Carlo distilled malt, and now we're able to jump forward in time and be able to present and offer a 12-year-old.
Incredible. Yeah. So that 5-year-old was all of your own as well. That was your own.
Yeah, that 5-year-old was our own Carlo distilled whiskey. Even though it was quite it's quite a difficult story for people to understand when they see a distillery and you Google it and you go, oh yeah, it opened up in June 2017, and then how do you know what's Pierce's, what's not? Well, we've always had our own malt in the blends. There's only a handful of grain distilleries in the country. And so the grain that we use as well was, the grain we use in Pierce is Cooley corn grain. The grain we use in the Halfpenny whiskey is West Cork Distillers wheat grain. And that's
interesting.
Another family of our whiskey, the Halfpenny. I'm not trying to
talk
about the time, but just as it came out of my head.
This is unbelievable stuff. Like the whiskey historian nerds amongst us love this now, because these are nuggets of gold. So again, if you want to spot the 12-year-old that's your own entirely on the shelf, it's the one on the left here with the 6 bands, the 6 rings on the cork, and then the one on the right is sourced from Cooley.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I was always able to pick out even our own Cooley stock, because the Cooley stock that we purchased was aged for at least 8 years in our own Town Branch bourbon barrels. So when we got it, we decanted it, filled it into Town Branch bourbon, and because of that lovely rye element in our bourbon, it kind of gives a signature kind of ginger clove warmth to our whiskeys, all through our whiskeys, in all of them, even the blends. And so there's going to be, even though it's different stills, it's a double distilled malt, different configurations, different washes, whatnot. But the barrels, the barrels in the aging or in the whiskey making process aren't containers. They're a living ingredient. They're just they're more as important as everything else, if not more so. So like the barrels that we've always aged our whiskeys in have been Town Branch bourbon, Kentucky bourbon barrel ale, a little bit of Town Branch rye, and a single malt the odd time as well. So we have the opportunity to use within our supply chain only barrels, except for the wine, of course, only barrels that come from our own sister distillery, Town Branch, in Lexington, Kentucky.
Which many people don't have the privilege of access to their own bourbon barrels. Yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around all this. This is just such good information, honestly. And I'm doing timelines in my head and adjusting timelines on. Yeah, this is this is great stuff. This whiskey then itself, like to me, like this is all the hallmarks of a long maturation in bourbon for a malt, like that. Those fruits, those lovely tropical white fruits, yellow fruits, lemon, citrusy.
That when you mentioned the lemon citrusy, that's really interesting because it's there, but interesting because it stayed there. That was a real mainstay of the 5-year-old Pierce single malt that came out in 2018, and that lemon citrusy note is after continuing on throughout its maturation life cycle.
It's a beautiful whiskey. It's lovely and delicate.
It is quite delicate and approachable. It's certainly and the citrusy element is very pronounced.
But it's got body to it as well. Like it's delicate, but there's like we're being drip fed the flavor notes throughout the taste. It's not, there's nothing overpowering us. Like the lemon note is quite forward, but a double distilled spirit, which
double distilled, yeah,
sometimes could be a little bit more challenging for us, but there's the spice, there's a lovely black pepper spice in the back end, a little bit of the malt character shining through as well, kind of a biscuity note. Like if you drizzled lemon icing from a cupcake, queen cake onto a little digestive biscuit is what I'm getting on this. It's a lovely whiskey. Folks, anybody in the comments there who's got feedback on it, what's the price point in this one, Connor?
Approximately €90.
Okay, and we also, by the way, very generously, thanks to Pierce Lyons, there's a 15% discount on everything in their shop and their tours, which I'll share by email with all of you tomorrow. So very kind of you. I'll be picking up a bottle of this because this is a beautiful whiskey. Any comments from folks? Any feedback on the tasting notes at all? And there was one earlier. Peter said really enjoyable and approachable single malt. I agree. Anyone else coming in? And it's astonishing, isn't it, that to think that you have a 14-year-old whiskey as well.
In November, our whiskey's turning 14 years old of its own making. Yeah,
amazing. You also recently announced a new whiskey series. I want to share some details on this because it's quite interesting and it ties in with the history of the place as well. Tell us about this. This is the Camino collection. And I was very interested when you sent me the details of this a few weeks ago.
Yeah. So what these are going to be, and there's no difference in price between the two liquids, Paul, because we're not even after telling anyone that there's a difference in the liquids before tonight. It's still a 12-year-old malt. It's just that we've migrated from our own from source stock to our own stock. With the Camino collection, I suppose what people may or may not know is our church in Dublin used to be the starting point for the Camino de Santiago pilgrimage across Spain. It was a meeting point. People would come, get their passports stamped, down to the port, down to San Sebastian, start the Camino. We actually used the upside down scallop shell of the Camino in our logos previously. So the Camino collection, and we all know the Camino de Santiago is a religious journey, a pilgrimage. And what we wanted to do with the Camino collection was to bring out a series of whiskies that are going to show off our journey within whiskey as Pierce Lyons. And not just that, it's about a journey of our past and our present and how we got to where we are. Because there's two labels. And what you're going to see, the one on the left, that ecclesiastical kind of purple, that's going to be our pot still label. The one on the right, that kind of gold colored label with the and they're swapping colors. So the purple label is going to have kind of that goldy writing on it, and the goldy label is for single malt, and that single malt label then will have the purple writing on it. So when you see these two, along with there's a banner at the bottom of this, and it's basically an image of a stained glass that's at the back of the church. It's actually a narrow stained glass that you probably wouldn't take a whole lot of notice of, and it's on a staircase. So when you see this stained glass window that got turned into our neck label, when you see that neck label and one of those two colors, it's going to mean that what you're looking at is a Camino collection whiskey. You know, from a distance, like purple label, that's pot still. That golden label, it's single malt. And inside in these bottles, you will only ever find, it's always going to be a single cask, and you'll only ever find Pierce Lyons whiskey inside in these bottles, fully. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring out a single malt and a pot still single cask, and then once they're gone, we'll just replace it with another single cask. Not trying to be the same, not trying for any continuity. It's whatever is best or deemed to be a good example for the season or for the time that we're bringing it out, because these are not meant to be ever permanent. They're meant to be ever changing. And what they are is an outlet for the weird and wonderful whiskies that we've been producing at Pierce Lyons that wouldn't have somewhere to live in a core range. So the first pot still that's going to come out is going to be a Dublin distilled pot still. We never actually made pot still in Carlow. So it's a Dublin distilled pot still. It'll be 5 years old, and it's all Oloroso aged. And then the golden label one, the malt, it's going to be a 7-year-old malt from Dublin, and it's going to be all fully matured in PX sherry. So we're starting off with the sweet sherries, but I suppose that's again to tie in with basically the Camino is a Spanish pilgrimage. And we just wanted it to be sherry focused from the get-go. I mean, I know what the second ones are from both, and they're not cherries. So they're completely different things.
Wow. This is a great series. Like, to have one-offs, when they're gone, great single casks, put them out there. I'd love to see more distilleries doing it. You're doing it now. This is great. And I've lost track of the number of whiskey festivals or shows that I've been at where people have said, have you gone to the Pierce Lyons stand? Like, they've got things beneath the counter there, or they've got something special. You've always been a great man for pulling out samples of things that maybe won't get to the market for a while, but I suspect some of these things are starting now to maybe bear fruit. And
this is it. This is where those amazing whiskies get a platform and an opportunity to see the light of day and to reach, the wider public.
When do these hit the market, or when do these become available, Conor, and where will they become available?
These are going to be distillery. Look, if a retail partner wants to take some allocation off us, no problems at all. These are going to be put into our shop in September, and we'll be telling retail partners they're available. And if they want to partake in them, no problems. We're also offering these for personal, businesses can actually take single casks of this as well themselves, and as a co-bottling as well. So with these, it's always going, as I said, it's going to be one single cask. When it's gone, it's gone. And then we just move on to the next one.
Unreal. Simon wondering if they'll be numbered for collectors.
No, but if you want, I'll number any bottle you want.
Get Connor with a pen on a good day. He'll throw any number you want it.
No, delivery again, because they're coming out in just such short releases, and we just didn't think to. We just didn't go with the numbered bottles as well.
So it's just a few hundred bottles at a time. Will you share the age on these? What information will be on the label? Will it just be non-age statement?
Ooh. I can tell you here now, actually, if you want. They're all going to be non-age statement. Can you zoom in on one of those?
Let me see.
I'm putting you on the spot now, because what I could do is I could actually show you.
Let me see if I can get right. I'll put up a raw image. Give me a second here now.
So I'll start telling people there before it comes up. So when people kind of, I suppose, get involved in our journey and the Pierce Lyons journey, the back label is going to have a QR code. Now, I know I'm asking Barry to pull up the front label and I'll explain why in a second. The back label is going to have a QR code that's going to bring you to a specific page on our distillery website. When you do that, you're going to get a huge amount of bottle information about that. I mean, we're on about fermentation times, how long the batch fermented for, exact aging, exactly the nuances of the barrel. But on the front of the bottle, actually,
let me see if I can get it here. I think I have it. Oh, here it is. All right. Which one do you want? The pot still or the malt?
Either or. Just so we can just zoom in on the cask number. The cask number will tell people how old the bottle is.
Okay, it's coming here now. This is like this isn't as polished as the Late Show now, but we're trying our best. Where's that thing? Here we go. Look at this. Real time. You put me on the spot, but I did it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So underneath the scallop shell and the spire, and the reason for the scallop shell and the spire, that's a logo that we haven't used before.
Great logo.
The spire is the church, and the scallop shell is the journey to the church. So that's to show people that it's either Carlow distilled or Dublin distilled. So
that's genius.
That's our logo for the product. Now, I'm on my bad computer. I see it perfectly. So if you see the cask number, PS, this is pot still. It's 20 is the year that it was distilled in. 69, that's actually the cask number. And then PX, that's the barrel.
Oh, brilliant.
So once you start reading these codes, it's going to be like simple to you. The malt one will just be M. I think the malt one, because it's 7 years, might say 18. It'll have a cask number, and and that's how you'd read it. So I mean, if it was Oloroso, it'll say O. If it was, so these aren't the ones that are actually coming out. You see the VO. So this is a malt distilled in 18. This is one to come out. It's a malt. It's 2018. Cask number and VO is Virgin Oak.
Unreal.
So that it's not age statemented, and you know what? It's deliberately not age statemented, because sometimes age creates an expectation, or lowers an expectation, or increases an expectation that mightn't be relevant when you actually taste the whiskies. But because when you're picking single casks out of your own inventory, it really is you really are trying to show off your best. So I mean, a 5-year-old pot still, the 2020 one that was there, a 5-year-old pot still could be put punching way above an 8-year-old malt, but when you put a number on it, sometimes there's so there'll never be an age on it. But anybody who's involved anybody who's involved in watching the bottles come out, you're gonna know exactly how old it is at a glance.
That's the way to do it. I think that's a great approach, and I think your logo there of the scallop shell and the spire is genius. Like, you've come to the distillery to get it, and historically, for those who don't know about the Camino, like, historically, if you got to the end of the journey, you were given the scallop shell to bring home to prove that you had made the pennant, you'd made the pilgrimage, to prove that you got there. And so you brought home the scallop shell, you wore it around your neck, and you were clapped back into your parish back in the day. I think it's a lovely indicator of the journey here as well.
Yeah, and that's why we use it on the neck label, because if somebody wanted to take a single cask, we would change the scallop shell. That's where their logo would change on the front label. But the neck label will always carry it. So when you see that neck label with the stained glass, and I must say, lots of shout out to Watershed Printers. These guys went way above and beyond. You can't see it here, but it's actually transparent stained glass label that they produced. It's incredible.
Wow.
The guys on the floor when the project came into them, the sales manager, Nigel, said the guys went all out to make this. They could have printed beautiful, bright colors on a label, but they went whole hog, and it's actually transparent. It actually is stained glass label.
Unreal. We could go on all night. This is unbelievable. This is a masterclass, Conor. This is unbelievable. We're getting schooled here in whiskey production. There's a reason you're the head of production. My God. And that younger 8-year-old self now is looking up at you going, 8 years ago self is looking up going, God, he knows a lot of stuff, that fella.
Well, yeah, it's amazing. You go through these waves of thinking you know something, and then you actually get involved in it, and you start peeling the layers of the onion. Then you realize you know nothing. And then you get to the next layer of the onion where you thought you knew something, and then you realize there's so much more again. And that's life, I suppose. But whiskey never ceases to not interest me, not fascinate me. I love just chatting to other whiskey people all day long. It's fantastic.
You're some ambassador for it, and we could listen to you all night. And anytime I do listen to you, I always learn something. I'm delighted to see Pierce Lyons whiskies starting to come into their own in a more mainstream way than just us nerds at a desk at a festival saying, "What have you got under there?" But to see now your own malt in a 12-year-old is just a great achievement. To think there's a 14-year-old on the way, or it could be on the way, is just mind-blowing. And kudos, like, fair play. You quietly, silently, behind the scenes, just did the work. And you were able to wait long enough for it to bear fruit.
Yeah, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to actually to release that information to people tonight about the 12-year-old, because we hadn't done it prior to this, and I just thought this was going to be a fantastic opportunity to do it with such a great audience of whiskey aficionados.
We'll Purcell, Martin there. I think I'll be maybe doing a lot of Caminos over the next while. We'll all be in Camino. Pierce Lyons, I think, over the next few weeks. Great segment, said Doug. Thank you. Reggie, great presentation. Conor, thank you. Great stuff, really great stuff. If somebody was to order a 12-year-old, hypothetically, tomorrow using a discount code link, is there any way they'd be guaranteed that they got your own malt?
Yes.
Okay. Sinead. As simple as that.
Yeah. If you order tomorrow,
a few words.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will send out a discount code tomorrow for the shop. I would encourage people to support. There was one comment earlier before you go. I think it was the comment of the night for your segment, and it's from Jason. Up until now, it's just been his cows that have consumed Alltech products. But Alltech's reputation for animal nutrition clearly carried through to whiskey. Subtle, delicate, and outstanding whiskey.
Superb. Thank you, Jason. Yeah. I mean,
this may be the only example of bovine to human transference of a brand in the whiskey world.
I mean, without Alltech, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to do this, and not going down that rabbit hole. But Barry mentioned earlier on that we grow our own grain. So out in Dunboyne on 120 acres, we grow all of our own grain since 2020. We use Alltech crop science products, and that that's only the grain that we're using in the distillery since then. And that spent grain goes back to our neighbouring farmer, Martin O'Toole, where I suppose it gets spread amongst the land again once it goes into the cows. So there's a nice cycle there, and it's having Alltech at our backs has been amazing. And actually next week, and there'll be another thing to reveal at another stage. We did a grain project quite a while ago, and we're starting to see, and we're starting to produce whiskey. We'll announce it. We're starting to produce a pot still with that grain project that we did out. We kind of bringing back a style of grain that hasn't been seen in Ireland in actually a long. Well, I'll come out with the official announcement in the next couple of weeks. But again, that's because having Alltech there, that we're able to do these test crops, and in conjunction with Loughran's family malts, we've got something very exciting to come down the line.
You'll have to come back to us. There's no choice. No choice in the matter. Conor, you're a legend, and thanks for sharing all your knowledge. I've learned so much from you over the years, and every time more. And now look, this whiskey's just so good. Wow, unbelievable. Geez, we're having some night tonight. Conor, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll see you again soon. Sláinte.
Indeed.
Cheers, Conor. All the best.
Roger. Cheers.
Unreal. Wow. It's I'm blown away now by all that information. There's just so much there. It's actually really exciting for the whiskey industry to see one of the early participants in the new wave of distilleries. Like even before Dingle, we always hold Dingle up as being the one that started it all, not realizing that behind the scenes you had the likes, even if they were just a month earlier, you had Pierce Lyons and Carlo distilling, and now they're seeing the fruits of their labor 12, 14 years later. It's just astonishing. It's just so many nuggets there. I'm going to have to sit now quietly at the end of the night tonight in the corner of a dark room with a glass of whiskey, just thinking about everything that Conor shares. There's just so much there. I'm buzzing from it. It's just amazing. Folks, pour your third whiskey. We're not done yet. John O'Donovan has promised to raise the roof. He's going to, I don't know, he might sing a song or something. I don't know what he's going to do, but things are going to get rowdy now for our third whiskey. We're moving on to our oldest whiskey by age, a 17-year-old whiskey, Goleen Gold, a blended whiskey put together by John, his team in Cork and Lighthouse Drinks. We'll bring John on in a second. Just pour a drop of it out into your glass, leave a bit in your bottle. I have a tiny little bitine of each bottle left over now for later, for when I rock myself in the dark corner thinking about all these whiskey nuggets. If you just joined, you're welcome. We're going through three whiskeys, three makers. This is Irish Whiskey Night. We've one goal tonight. Celebrate Irish whiskey, celebrate the people, the places, and just share the good news. Ireland has a great habit of talking itself into recessions and bad news and declines. We're trying to reverse it in our own small way here tonight on every Irish Whiskey Night, the last Thursday of the month. And we're not stopping yet. So our third whiskey is up now. Let me pull up the old banners on the screen so you don't get lost. It gets easy this late at night. Now sipping dram number 3. And with that, there's John O'Donovan from Lighthouse Drinks. John, how are you?
18 years old when I went down to Dublin.
I knew we get a song. I knew we get a tune out of the gate. A tune out of the gate. How are you getting on? I haven't seen you in a while.
I have a question. I know that we must catch up. I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
What were you thinking taking me on for the third segment after discussing the genius of Dr. Lyons and the success of Dr. Brogan?
I suppose a contrast, really. So don't we all have our own little things to contribute in our own little way, like?
Yeah, I know. Look at it. It's even. I was enjoying both the lads. I listened to both the lads. They're both like friends and great. I'm working with Liam on something at the moment, and the guys in Pierce Lyons. Whoa, there is some stuff going on there, huh?
Unbelievable, like absolutely unbelievable. It's mind-boggling because for years we've seen some of the source releases and we've seen some of the under-the-counter stuff, but it's amazing to taste that 12-year-old now and say, wow, like that's a Pierce whiskey is actually, it stopped me in my tracks now tonight. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's actually stopped me in my tracks.
No, it's great. I'm delighted to be on. And Conor, what a guy. What a lovely guy, huh?
Honestly, they don't come much better, which makes life a little bit harder for you. But look, possibilities are endless now. You can juggle. You can no. Listen, first of all, we're not going to let you be humble. John is the founder of Lighthouse Drinks. He created Three Drams back in the day during COVID. It was John's baby that eventually fell into my hands. But we've John to thank for Three Drams. There's no two ways about it. You nurtured that. You created the brand. You created the model. You fed the country, watered the country during COVID. You were on the Late Late Show with it. You created something that was copied often afterwards, whether it was by brands or other companies. But this is your model, and we're very lucky to have to kind of continue to try and fly the flag for it. But tell us a little bit about what you do in Lighthouse Drinks, because you started off doing something that has expanded into something enormous now in Little Island in Cork.
Yeah, and thanks. And just to touch off on the Late Late Show piece, I'll never forget it. COVID. Luckily I was allowed to travel because the nature of the off-license game during COVID was an essential commodity, right? So
yeah,
everywhere I drove, like up and down to Killarney with stock at the time we were fulfilling down there, driving around the country, I was getting stopped everywhere. The one time I was driving to Dublin for the Late Late Show, 250 kilometers, I was just dying for a guard to stop me and say, where are you going? I was going to say, well, I'm the Late Late Show tonight. I was just dying. Do you know that stopped by a guard the whole way up? Not a hope. But it terrified me. It genuinely terrified me. There was times I wanted to run away from it. There was like I was standing there with live cameras and all this kind of stuff. It was great. But look, what memories, and thanks to you too, Barry, because you've come in and done a great job with Three Drams. I think better than I ever was doing with it. And there's plenty of people watching it. And I have a couple of guys maybe I was talking about who are launching brands in Q4. I'm just trying to line up. But to switch back to your original question, we started. We always say it, Barry. We had that phone call. We had that famous phone call. Was that 8 years ago now? I suppose 8 years ago.
Would have been, yeah.
With our dreams and our ideas, irishmalls.com was launched, at a time when there was high demand. We've ran it for 8 years now. And I suppose Lighthouse Drinks, the business behind it, has evolved in many, many different ways. There's a lot of the team there now. It's evolved in many different ways. And it's simply started out by a lot of these unique releases that we were doing in Irish malts. A lot of the guys like Connor now and the brands that we were working with, they were asking us, could we bottle these small releases, because all the big bottling plants had no interest. So obviously we had no approvals. There's a bit of approval with that, with the HSC, Bond of Warehouse, revenue, etc. But with a bit of when there was enough requests that warranted looking into it, and we went off, and I think it took about 9 months maybe. We went off and we built. You've seen it. You've been in there. We built a beginner's 5 meter squared, primitive, I suppose, cottage industry type bottling room. Couldn't even call it a hall. And I suppose the bottling really took off and grew from there. That was already 4 or 5 years ago. So we took a lot of jobs into that little room. We did a lot of different releases. And then at one point we took on a job with 6,000 bottles. It took us about 6,000 days to do with the equipment that we had, but the brand owner, we had, it wasn't a surprise to the brand owner at the time. They knew our capabilities, let's say. So it was a year into that when we realized there was a gap. COVID was calming down. Bigger plants were smashed they were smashed to capacity, so the smaller brands were leaking out of them, and we managed to pick up a lot of the guys who were starting up. So we had the decision to make: do we find money somewhere to build a bigger plant or not? And I suppose we did do that. Fast forward 3 and 4 years later, which is today, and we still run our e-commerce arm, but the manufacturing side of the business has outgrown it significantly at this point. So, yeah.
And I mean, incredible trajectory from 8 years ago phone call, talk about selling a few bottles, new releases. It was the start of the boom of Irish whiskey and new releases coming out. And now those very same brands that you first sold are coming to you saying, any chance you could bottle our whiskey? Any chance you could come up with some logistic support for us? And you also support all of Three Drams. Like every single one of these that comes out comes from yourselves, comes from your team, all the bottling. And you're in a geographical indicator approved facility, GI approved facility. So every brand has the confidence of knowing that when they ship to you, all the standards are maintained, Irish whiskey standards are maintained, etc. For labeling. It's a huge undertaking. It's a huge operation. And every time I meet you, you're always playing it down. You're always saying, yeah, I don't know. I think we should probably add a lab. I think we should add blending. I think we should add, I don't know, like everything short of the only thing you've ever stopped short of adding is actually a distillery. Like you've offered the idea of everything else. And I think everything you've said, you've done it. Like it's all there or it's about to be there. Like.
That's so funny you say that, because I had a friend in with me today who's actually going to launch an Irish whiskey soon, and I was showing him where we were actually currently building the lab. So like he's watching this, listening to you, and he's going, "Oh my God, you know that guy so well." No, but look, yeah, we are building out a lab now because we're going to start. We're just going to diversify a little bit and offer some whiskey liqueur. Formulation or MPD requests, and from a small size as well, up to a mid size. I suppose where we've seen the growth over the last 12 months has been on the international markets. We still have, I suppose we have around 20 to 25 like domestic Irish customers. But I think probably this year we've probably surpassed the amount of domestic customers with international customers this year. So it's been a real shift in what we're doing. It's constantly shifting. If I'm back on here in another year's time, I can guarantee there'll be another shift again. And I think actually, to be honest, and this is slightly off of whiskey, but more on business, but I think you have to constantly reinvent yourself and reimagine and look for gaps and cracks, and don't be afraid to do something different, or not to be afraid to do something that you think that you don't know anything about. Everybody and anybody in this world only ever learn because they learned at some point. So, making mistakes is not, is not a big problem as long as you don't make them over and over again, I suppose. But, it's been a hell of an 8 years. I mean, if I'm still alive in 8 years after it, God only knows what we'll be doing down there.
Everything seems to be an 8-year segment tonight. Connor's picture was 8 years before tonight. That was probably the same time you and I were talking. Connor was having his photograph taken in the distillery. Go back to that interesting nugget there that might be overlooked. That international business has overtaken domestic business. What are the international customers using you for?
A full one-stop shop really now. So like really the kind of most recent pivot over the last 12 months is we've become kind of a supply chain monster. So I think we have 800 different pieces of dry goods in our inventory system now. And like, to give you an example, one thing might be a black PVC heat shrink at 36 mil by 20 mil. So we have a huge amount to offer, and we have a huge amount of suppliers now globally. I don't know, did you ever? We're about to start a nice little marketing campaign on LinkedIn, and I'm going to talk a little bit about these things. But it's Irish whiskey, right? But the supply chain of Irish whiskey, it must cross 7, 8, 9, 10 other countries. The glass, the sand, the plastic, the grain that goes into some of the distilleries' whiskey is not Irish. So like, it's phenomenal where we've gone, because every international customer has entrusted us to create their full product. From blend to packaging. They'll probably design their label, but and they'll select how they want their product to look or the bottle. But other than that, it's then down to us. And I keep saying to the lads inside, I think we have, a BOM as a bill of materials. So even Even Coca-Cola would have a bill of materials for a 500 milliliter bottle of Coke, the red cap bottle, the label. We have, the average bill of materials for a bottle of whiskey is probably 6 to 8 components. And we now have over 100 bombs on our internal system. So I keep saying to the lads, there's 100 Irish whiskey brands rely entirely and completely on us delivering their entire product when they make a sale. And the whole thing is on demand. Nobody is bottling Irish whiskey to pay high rent in a warehouse over there. So we have over 100 bombs on the system, probably 60 to 80 clients, and every one of them out every day selling all across the globe. And when they sell, it's on us.
So you're taking all of the risk on the back end in the hopes that they have repeat orders and that you'll be able to use those dry goods. If that customer for some reason disappears, you've got somebody else who'll take that.
Yeah, so it's like we have, if there's any supply chain whiskey enthusiasts in the audience, we have a supply chain planner's job going up soon. So we try to grow with the client, right? So, first order is always difficult. It's got tooling charges, it's got setup costs, it's got delays, Second order comes in, great. We have some bits of dry goods left to go. We're ordering again. It's quicker. By the time we get to the third and the fourth order, if the relationship is blossoming and the relationship is going in a good direction, we probably will have the commodities and the dry goods and the wet and the whiskey on site for their next order. So we can see the trajectory of what they're ordering. So we are offering trust, and we're offering to put our money on the table to a degree as well in that regard. But look, it's a unique business model in the space, but it seems to be working. But it's really, really admin heavy.
Yeah,
I think I told you this. We've recently procured 250,000 liters of pure alcohol of Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
So as a business now, we don't distill yet. Maybe, I don't know, that might be a yet, but we don't distill, but we have 6 or 7 finished malts. We have 2 or 3 finished grains. And I mean, look, if you have 10 different cask finishes across malt and grain, there's not many people you're going to sit down with in an office and they're not going to be able to create a blend that they like, So,
and I think that's to simplify all, because you do so much, but for someone tuning in for the first time tonight, hearing about all these logistics, it all boils down to somebody has called you and said, I want to sell an Irish whiskey, be it in Asia, Africa, South America, wherever. And you've said, no problem, let's talk. And then based on that, you will go from soup to nuts. You'll handle everything from he wants or she wants the whiskey all the way through to they now have it in their hand.
That's exactly it. It's exactly it. And like, I think we spoke before, and some people will recall the last time we were talking, India is still a huge growth market for us. We have six or seven onboarded importers now, full-blown medium-sized businesses, small to medium-sized businesses in Indian terms now. A small business is like a bloody multinational up here. We have 6 or 7 SMEs with experience and distribution in India now, and one of them in particular is grown significantly in the last 18 to 24 months. And they have an order in at the minute for for like a lot of bottles and cans of Irish whiskey. So we are at the point where we're holding 250,000 bottles in stock, empty bottles, unsold empty bottles in stock for them. So then that just ends up in a situation where we build, you're building fantastic relationships with these guys. There's a huge amount of trust has to come into us, like a huge amount. We're on the hook for absolutely everything. You
have a great risk tolerance. Like, you have an unbelievable risk tolerance.
Yeah, I mean,
like me included, I wouldn't sleep at night with that number of details and SKUs and potential orders and carrying this, that, and the other thing. But you sleep a good night's sleep, do you?
Again, I'm getting about 6 to 7 hours sleep at the moment. I'm generally
right.
7 to 8 though. No, I'm sleeping okay. I really genuinely am sleeping.
That's good. Yeah.
No, I'm not too bad. I mean, look, it's kind of like I feel like now I'm so engrossed and so deep into it. I couldn't stop now if I tried. Do you know that kind of way?
You have a real passion for getting people excited too about projects. Something I've noticed about you, because like when we started talking about Three Drams and coming together and doing all bits and pieces together, I'd say things to you and give you ideas, and every time I'd ask you a question, your first answer was always yes, and then cleverly, because then that satisfied me immediately, and then cleverly a minute or two later you might ask a question related to that, which then caused me to think back about whether it was the right thing. So you were never saying, I don't know. You were saying yes. And do you think that would work over, and it was you have a very clever way of just saying, we can do it. What have you thought about this?
It's interesting you say that, because I spoke to somebody recently who actually said the exact same thing. And sometimes, a lot of the time, you don't think about yourself. That's natural. That's a natural trait, let's say. And I don't go into a meeting or I don't go into a negotiation thinking that I'm going to act like that. It's actually
it's just who you are.
I like getting things done. I like winning the game. I like I suppose I like challenges, and I like figuring things out,
But you like helping people too. Like you like helping bring things together. Like I can see that. Like you do. I've seen you enjoy watching a thing come together for someone else. I think that's a nice trait. Look, before we go deeper, like the whiskey. Let's talk about this whiskey beers number 3, because I think it's a great example of all of the work you do. Like it is the embodiment of the work you do for others. Goalie Gold, 17-year-old. Talk to us about this whiskey. What it is, how it came about, why you released it, and we'll start sipping on it and nosing it.
Yeah, it's well, look, we have an e-commerce platform, right? And then all of a sudden we have a facility where we can put products together. So like it just made sense to us, everybody inside, that we just did exactly that. So in this particular release, and there's a 21-year-old released as well. I'm sure you know under this brand name, but the idea was to bring a bit of value to the age statement. And I suppose that may be unfair, because before this I'd say there was only, and correct me now if you think I'm wrong, but there was maybe only a handful or less of blended age statements up that high. They were all,
you're right.
And like there was like, for any, like, look, people will see it in the shelf price, but the price of aged malt still today is still very, very, very high. So if you were a 21-year-old malt, even out of a bourbon barrel, or 21-year-old grain out of a bourbon barrel, it is chalk and cheese on the price. So what we did was we got a chunky 20% malt into that. I always think as well, like blends are like, people who put a lot of malt into blends, they normally don't call it out. I know the Two Stacks guys are heroes at it with 5-part blends and down to the 0.01%, and that's cool because there's transparency there. But there's blends on the market that have 50% malt in them, and nobody knows.
Yeah.
So like I'd always question how many consumers would pick up a 50-50 and a 90-10 and say, there's way more malt on. I'm getting way more malt out of that. I'm not talking a lot of the guys maybe here, maybe on the platform and in the whiskey societies who can pick that stuff up handy. I'm talking about the consumers who buy off the shelf in Tesco, So we it mightn't be written on the bottle, but we put it out in the press release, and we put it out there that there's 20% malt in this, and it packs a punch. Like, so you got a nice 80-20 blend. It was released at $74.95, and it went, I think, on St. Patrick's Day when we released it, I think it went for $59.95. So we have this 17-year-old blended whiskey with 20% malt for better value on the shelf than a bottle of Rare Breast 12.
I think that's a great experiment. Like, it's a great.
Still versus blend, I get it, but
No, I get it, but
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't all boil down to how it tastes and how we enjoy it and whether we got value, irrespective of the style of whiskey, or it's blend, pot still malt, it doesn't matter. I think you've done a lovely job on this. So what do you know what the barrel components were that it was aged in? Was it all bourbon?
All bourbon, exclusively all bourbon, yeah.
All bourbon barrels.
Malt ex-bourbon, grain ex-bourbon.
So, folks, if you haven't started tasting this, I'd get into it. But on the nose, I get a lot of fudge. Like, I get a lot of toffee and fudge and caramel on the nose.
Yeah, my favorite dessert is creme brulee, and especially out of the corn store.
Very specific, yeah.
I know the corn store Cork creme brulee here, guys. I get that. There's, it's vanilla, it's sweet.
Yeah.
Bit of honey.
Almost like it's very on the chocolatey, dark, like sweet dessert notes rather than maybe fruity that we got in one of our earlier whiskeys, like the 12-year-old from Pierce Lyons was lemon and citrus. This now has gone a different direction. Lovely there's kind of a weighty note to it. Like there's a heavy kind of an austere note to it almost.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, the feedback when we released both Golding Golds, the feedback was so good from the customers, just via email and via social media, and sometimes that's more satisfying than anything else, to be honest.
We'll have another sip of it. Will we slange it? You can taste the banana kind of cornbread banana note from the grain. And then there's a lovely mouth coating. There's a lovely texture to it. There's a lovely weight as well. And that creamy vanilla fudge for me just lives through the taste with a little bit of maybe balsamic or black pepper kind of coming on top of it.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I get very similar taste profile, maybe a little bit of custard. But no, it's for me, it's a very easy one to drink, and the mouthfeel and the texture was also something that I really, really like.
And also, what you haven't mentioned is that it's back at $59.99 for us tonight as well. By the way, thanks to.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah. I mean, got to be serious value.
This is unbelievable value. Like, I think you were. I had to stop and think about your motives when I first saw the Golding Gold 21 and then this, and I wondered, because you're doing so much for everyone in the industry. You're selling, you're bottling, and I wondered, are you now competing? And it's an interesting experiment, isn't it, to come out and say, I see what you're all doing, fellow clients, but also look what I can do over here. Did you ever think, was that a thought as you put this together?
God, I've thought about that a million different times over the years. I think, do you know how I've thought about that? Really, you have to, when you get to a certain level or stage in your own trajectory where it's right to do something, it's probably right to do it, regardless of what other people might think. And that's not to say I don't care what our customers or what our colleagues think, but you can't hold back on something. And then the second part of it is, we're talking here about 100 or 200 bottles on one single e-commerce site. It's never going to alter the course of any other brand or sales of any other brand or any other, or the industry in general. And I suppose it's important that people know as well, like that. We have a facility. The stuff is processed and manufactured and bottled on behind the wall of our e-commerce department, as you know. So there's no transport and there's no middleman and there's no distributor, and we're selling with our own retail license. So we are making a profit on selling that bottle of whiskey for €60. Now, it's not going to get me a yacht in Dubai anytime soon, but it is a profitable, technically at least a profitable venture. So like, why not? It's a way to try and engage with the customers. Like, you know, as time has gone on, Irish Malts hasn't probably gotten as much TLC as it should have than it used to. And I work more full time in it. And this Q4, we're going to try and dust ourselves off a bit and come out and make a lot of noise and get a lot of offers for the Q4 season, and, you know, re-engage a little bit with the customer. And the releases like this are just exactly for that, if you know what I mean.
I'm curious from the audience, like, what do you think about an affordable age statement blend? There's been awful division, or maybe I would say snobbiness in the industry around maybe styles of whiskey, positioning, always a marketing effort, positioning pot still or malt as being superior somehow than the sum of those two parts, or those two parts plus a grain together, which always seems to be counterproductive. Like, I've always thought a chef would prefer to have 3 ingredients than 1 in his kitchen. And yet we knock the blend, you know, as if it's some kind of inferior product, despite the fact that it's the only thing holding the entire global whiskey industry up. I wonder what people think about it. Yeah.
Well, we'll await some of the comments, but you're bang on there. Like, if you take the 100 bombs I spoke of on our system, right? There's less than 5 are non-blend. If nearly any.
That's interesting now.
So, like,
for international, like for overseas export, is it?
Yeah. It's 97 or 8% in our business. Product leaving our facility is up at 85 to 95% grain in almost every bottle of Irish whiskey. And this year, and we don't really kind of put these numbers out there that much, but like last year we would have bottled 500,000 bottles, and this year we'll bottle 750,000 bottles. And it does look like we're, you know, bucking the trend, and it does look like we will bring 1 million bottles of Irish whiskey into the world next year in the space in 4 calendar years.
We'll have to have a party.
We're having a party right now, dude.
We'd have to have a drink or something. Well, that's it. I remember you telling me you came back from a trade show and you told me how the buyers were walking past those that had expensive products on offer, and they came to you and said, I want Irish whiskey, I want a blend, what can you do it for? And you reckoned that there was a lot of, like, the word Irish carried a lot of weight in certain markets, and it was almost the makeup of the whiskey was secondary to the fact that they could have an Irish whiskey, and they just wanted that to be affordable.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is. Like, so give you an example. At one of those trade shows about 2 years ago, a guy came up to me from South Korea, and he puts out his business card on the stand at the trade show, and he says, "Here you go. I'm Sonny, looking for a peated Irish whiskey, you know, at a value, a peated blended Irish whiskey at a value price." And then he tastes this blend. We had what we called a lightly peated sample with us, and he tastes a sample, and he was like, "That was nice. I'm going to bring my colleagues back." So he goes away. I pull out Claude or GPT, which one or the other, and I type in the name of their company, and I said, "Who are these guys?" And it pops up on the screen. It was CU convenience stores from South Korea, and they have 22,000 convenience stores. And I'm sitting there going, "Dude, you get your ass back over here fast." He does come back with his colleagues, and he ends up coming back 3 or 4 times. And I suppose it took us 12 months. It took us 12 months to get the deal closed. After 12 months, they purchased 60,000 bottles of blended Irish whiskey from us, and it went into South Korea at 12 or 13 euro a bottle on the shelf.
Is that the future? Like, is that the future of? I mean, are we in a bit of a bubble? Like, are we in a bit of a bubble in the whiskey community where we're nosing our pot stills and holding up our malts to the light and looking at them? Like, that's a small blip in the universe of Irish whiskey, is it?
I would say potentially it's a bubble, if you want to call it that. But like, so if you look at Scotch, right? its volumes and its sales, you know, they're a multiple of Irish, right? They've way more distilleries. We've got way less distilleries. They've got more brands. But if you looked at the volume of Scotch exported to the world, right, the amount of it that equates to that South Korean export we made is astronomical. Like, even when you take the Macallans and the Lefroy's and all these brands, like, if you look at the Scotch, they're only a certain piece of that picture. So what we're missing over here in Ireland is exactly that bulk volume side of it. So, like, I think if anything, putting the first Irish whiskey into the CU convenience stores should open the doors for all of the brands. If anything, it's a positive thing. If anything, it's not us taking the business. There has to be, like, for spirits to work. And we have customers now, Barry, all over the world, from Georgia and Eastern Europe, South Africa, America, California, Latvia. We were speaking to 2 internationally educated Indians who live in Dubai, whose family have an alcohol business in Africa yesterday. It's all volume product. They want value and volume.
And they're sophisticated buyers.
Yeah, we need these guys.
Yeah,
we need these guys to open doors, get Irish whiskey on shelves in these far-flung places, and let the brands come in later on and knock the door down and get the top-up volume on the premium side. That's interesting.
Yeah. Is that what, like, that's kind of what Jameson was doing historically in the 80s and 90s, banging the door and opening up trade routes where none existed for a generation for Irish whiskey, and then other brands were able to come in and stand on the shoulders of Jameson. You're the next evolution on that cycle or on that curve of the bulk side, where you're potentially seeding the market and others will come in on the back of you.
Exactly. Obviously on a much smaller scale than likes of Jameson, but yeah, I think so. I wouldn't tend to disagree. Like, we'll send 400,000 bottles of Irish whiskey to India this year. So
that's amazing.
I mean,
like 400,000. Just stop there for a second. There's 48, I've counted 48 working distilleries in Ireland today. I'd say a good half or 3/4 of them would love to sell 400,000 bottles of whiskey a year.
And this is what it's something I say to the lads is, like, because we put the product together and do the full sale and export, that's clocked or registered as an export sale of Irish whiskey by Lighthouse Drinks. So if you took your Jamesons, and if you took your Teeling, I suppose, Tullamore Dews, Bushmills, and these top 5 or 6 guys, we must be in the top 6 or 7 companies in Ireland for export numbers. We must be at this point. Like,
you must be.
So, unfortunately, that doesn't equate to money in the bank, right? At some point it will, I suppose. But no, like, we're trying to build something. We're trying to build something, and we're growing. Our revenue will grow by 40% this year. Our output will grow by 50%. So
that's amazing. I mean, that's
more. What more could we want?
And that's against the backdrop of Pernod Ricard today announcing global sales decline of 4% in their sales for 2025 or the year 2026 to July. And now you're saying 40-50% growth. I spoke to a distillery owner a few months ago who talked about achieving 100 to 150% growth next year. Like, there's people out there who are finding their little niche. Bulk has always been very interesting. Like, you and I have had lots of conversations about that. And you've always said, Barry, you need to do a bulk whiskey. We need to get you a 95.5 blend. Come on, when are you going to do a whiskey? But I think you're doing a really interesting job there in it.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Like, but if you think about it, like, take that South Korean convenience store chain, right? They're buying a zillion products all over the globe to get on their store shelves, yeah? If they wanted that product 4 years ago, it's a pain in the ass for them to do it. Where are they going? Think of it. And they don't have to name businesses now, but where are they actually going to get the product? It didn't really exist. 4
years ago, there was probably 2 places they could go, maybe in Ireland, maybe. But even then, they couldn't get it all done. They couldn't get the whole thing done.
That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think there would have been a place. So like potentially
Oh.
we are opening trade routes or whatever you like, whatever way you wish to call it. Potentially we're opening, and we're getting all sorts of stuff. I was on the phone to a fellow who owns 2 or 3 bars in Florida and Atlantic City last night in America, and he wants to buy 2,000 or 3,000 bottles of whiskey. Like, so we're sufficing customers at that level and at that scale, and even down. We'll still take on a customer with a single cask, you know. So we haven't found somebody as of yet who was too big for us. Let's put it that way. But we're looking for them.
Simon has a question there. Have you done this throughout the UK and Europe as well, or is it mostly Asia, Africa?
Our own labels or brands really like these, especially these ones. They've only gone to Irish malts. We have exported some of our other brands like O'Doherty's Irish whiskey is available in Slovakia and a few countries around the world. Hungry Hill is selling well in Ukraine. So we do have a couple of bits and pieces like that going on around the world. All right, it's not the bulk volume of what we're doing though.
The brand factory is an interesting angle though, like, isn't it? Like this could have been done by others had they had the maybe foresight, like those who had the crucial element of all of this, which is the distillate, could have bolted on a brand factory element, couldn't they? But maybe it wasn't their core skill, and that's where you've stepped in and said, well, grand, you distill it, I'll do the rest.
Yeah, and like, you know, as you know, we started just purely bottling as a service, which is just a service, but now it's like soon you're going to be able to, like, you know, we've just exported an Irish vodka to America for a client. It's now available in Connecticut and New York. We, you know, soon we're developing a cherry liqueur for one Irish brand. We're developing an Irish coffee liqueur for another brand, and soon you'll be able to walk in and, you know, get anything made up from vodka to peach schnapps to Irish whiskey to premium Irish whiskey, blended Irish whiskey, gin, rum. We have a customer in Georgia, Eastern Europe, and he has 9 SKUs with us. He's just moved his 4 Scotch SKUs in with us. So now we are, you know, this is not good for 3 drams and Irish whiskey, maybe, but we are not. I'm joking, but it's a small part of what we're doing. But he has moved his. We're picking up the authorization to bottle Scotch.
You haven't carved out a small little Scotch territory down there in Little Island, have you? Like your little flag in one corner of the building, like Scotland.
Not yet, but no, not yet. But like, look, it starts to make sense for customers because they get a very reliable supplier where they can consolidate shipments, and you know, he doesn't have to deal with 4 suppliers, or he deals with 1, and he can consolidate his purchases and his manufacturing. So he's, you know, he's that particular customer is the biggest distributor in Georgia, and that's what I never understand, right? We couldn't, if we tried, work with the biggest companies in Ireland, but we can work with CU Convenience Stores, the biggest distributor in Georgia, and we're just about to sign on with a very large American company. Like, so, like, it's weird. It's weird. It's weird.
You're literally the definition of we're big in Japan.
Exactly.
If I was coming to you tomorrow, it's late now tonight, we won't be doing any more tonight, but if I was coming to you tomorrow and I said, I want to use Irish whiskey, but I don't need it straight. I want it in a product that, because now we see things like Irish whiskey, iced tea, iced lemonades, all kinds of RTDs. If I came to you and said, let's utilize Irish whiskey, I want you to advise me on a product or a category, where would you put me, or what would you start suggesting now as a kind of a growth category or a growth use of Irish whiskey?
Yeah, it goes back to what we discussed in this volume thing. So, like, what the buyers want is value, right? And what you said, Irish. Obviously, we respect the laws and the geographic indication, and Irish whiskey is Irish whiskey. This particular customer yesterday in Dubai wanted a flavored Irish whiskey.
Right.
But the way our laws are done, you can't do that. The second you put a flavor to Irish whiskey, it's not Irish whiskey anymore. So then why? Like, so I'm kind of advising them at the moment, saying, why do that when you're losing the premium nature? You're paying for the premium nature of Irish whiskey. But to answer your question, in our field, because we're not in RTDs now, maybe again that's another yet, but we're not in RTDs at the moment. But my advice would be get a premium looking product with some level of Irish whiskey in there. It's not going to be Irish whiskey on the label. It's going to be some form of a liqueur or a spirit drink. And we're going to be able to knock 33 to 40% off of the price of a bottle of blended Irish whiskey. Now, you got an Irish product, it's bottled in origin, it has Irish whiskey in it. You just can't call it Irish whiskey. I think that's a growth area that has yet to has yet to take off.
I think you're right. Like, I think I've seen, I do get a sense that there are things even where like white spirits are even being replaced with whiskey, and cocktails where a strawberry daiquiri made on rum could now be made with a blended Irish whiskey, or could be made with where I think that's where I could see it going. Like, we have to find a way to get through all this whiskey somehow.
And it's not good for the bulk distilleries, because the bulk distilleries need people to be buying litre bottles and 70cl bottles of Irish whiskey. If you look at the RTDs and things like that, like, and I know like Teeling launched an RTD recently, and Egan's have one, there's loads of them have it. They're taking minute amounts of Irish whiskey in the product. So it's not good. Like, God only knows how many RTDs you get out of one cask of whiskey. So like, it's not going to deplete stocks.
Okay.
Obviously there's this kind of somewhat changing tide. Well, it maybe on our shores and maybe more in the Western world, but there definitely seems to be some level of a switch towards lighter drinks, RTDs, but it's not good for the depleting bulk anyway. That's
interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, kind of reminds me of the old days of like the cream liqueurs, where it started off with there was a good bit of Irish whiskey, and then over time it kind of went down to like a thimble worth per case, you know. And
then it went even to no Irish whiskey with the country cream, which is wine based.
Yeah.
You can get Irish cream liqueur now with a wine base in it. So like, well, look, we are genuinely finally. I'm talking about it for a year, but like the builder was in today. We are starting to build out our lab. We're gone to the point where we've equipment hanging off walls like that costs thousands of euros. That's just gonna we need that lab fast to get the equipment in there. So the way I've always done it is I've tried to get the business almost first and then catch up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
As opposed to and then we're building quite a large kind of semi-clean room, and we're getting into pouching and things like that. So we have a few pieces of new equipment that, where we can fill pouches and come up with kind of cocktail recipes, or so there's a few things that we're doing to kind of just keep the diversification going.
We might have to talk on some of those things.
Yeah. You're gonna have to do something. I mean,
we have to keep moving. We have to keep moving and shifting.
What is going on?
Listen, we could talk all night. It's almost like the two of us are grabbing lunch and just chatting away. We'll have to do that again, by the way. And maybe next week we'll meet up. But this Goaling Gold, which served as maybe the backdrop to the discussion, is a great experiment. And offering it up at $59.99 now for 3 drams is great. Hopefully we'll move a few. I'll send out an email tomorrow. I have to applaud you. You're always downplaying your own accomplishments. And I've said to you lots of times during our conversations, like, look around you, look at what you've built. It's an extraordinary business. Like, and you have to think like Baby John is very impressed with Big John and what you've achieved. Like, I think you should pat yourself on the back. It's an extraordinary business.
Genuinely, thank you. And it's something that I should stop a little bit more to celebrate some of the wins, but I suppose I'm in such a whirlwind almost that I don't have time. I mean, in the back of my mind, I'll sit down somewhere and rest at some point in my life.
I know. I know. You're wired differently, and you need the constant kind of go and motivation and stimulation. Like, I get it. But all that being said, there's lots of people that have lots of, they're going all the time and they achieve nothing. So you're going all the time, you've achieved a lot. So kudos to you. Like, what a night of overachievers. Like, there's somebody said earlier that you were worried about coming on last. Here's the comment: if John was concerned about going last, he's certainly blown the door off its hinges. Really fascinating listening. So frame that. Stick that up in the bathroom now, framed.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I like coming on, Barry, because I do definitely give a different angle to the I'm happy to give a different angle, and like I'm a positive guy anyway, but I like to bring positive news. There is, like we're years into a lot of negative. There's so much negativity around Irish whiskey. Like it's crazy. It has to turn at some point, but we'll keep on going at Lighthouse Drinks anyway. We'll keep flying the flag, and we'll at some point we'll dump that scotch back out the door when we can afford to do so.
Well, you've been incredibly helpful to us. Three Drams it's been great working with you guys, and running a subscription business is a challenge, and there's so many moving parts and so many different people have to be involved in different things, and it's been you've made that a lot easier for me, so thanks for that, and hopefully we can build on that in the rest of 26 and going into 27 and maybe make a run at it and grow it even more, and maybe we'll find another product to get in there from yourselves into Three Drams over the coming months as well.
Yeah,
not Scotch though.
Well, thank you, Barry, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sinead. I was going to say there, just Sinead, I was going to say one last thing. We have another customer in Latvia who is doing 50% Scotch and 50% Irish. So there's a lot of weird and wild and wacky things going on around the world. Let's just put it that way.
I know. And you right in the middle of it, keeping an eye on, as who was it said? I think it was JP McManus once said he's always looks for the gap in the market and the market in the gap.
I'd agree with him there anyway.
Listen, we leave it at that tonight. Thanks so much for supporting us with Goaling Gold. We'll send out a link tomorrow with links to buy and discount codes, and for that whiskey and the other whiskies of the night. Go on away to bed. You've been very good. You've been very supportive, and we raise our glass to you. Slán to John. Fair play to you.
Barry, you too.
Talk to you later. Cheers, John. When we started out tonight, I said that every month somebody says this was the best one. I'm going to say it tonight. This was the best one. It was the best one. It was the best one. And for just myriad reasons, for good news. It was the best one for good news. Aer Lingus collaboration with Two Stacks. 12-year-old malt from Pierce Lyons finding their way into their Founder's Choice whiskey. John O'Donovan building one of the largest producers of and exporters of Irish whiskey in the country from a mad idea. John was a former pilot. John used to fly planes. He used to live out in Dubai. He used to be a pilot. And John had this idea to start a whiskey business or a drinks business. And now today it's one of the largest drinks business based on what they do in the country. This is the best one for those reasons. Just good news. We need good news, and we have to stop talking ourselves into declines and into recessions. The Irish love a bit of bad news. Oh, this distillery has paused production. This distillery isn't making as much as they did last month. Don't worry about it. The nature of every business is ebbs and flows, ups and downs. No business can sustain any direction, be it down, up, across, for any extended period of time without an aberration, without a change in that direction. We should be very, 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 very positive about the Irish whiskey category, because we've got entrepreneurs, passionate makers, producers, marketers who are determined to make it on a global stage. Look at the whiskies tonight. They're all international stories. Like Two Stacks on planes going around the world on our national carrier. What an international story that is. Story of Pierce Lyons and Kentucky meeting Dublin, Alltech, the Alltech story. What an international story that is. And then obviously John's biggest business now is international, exporting whiskies that he has created. He has created the entire brand and the entire supply chain and the entire dry goods mix for those whiskies. This is the best. This is the best month. I won't be taking questions on it. This is the best month. It's as simple as that. As simple as that. Okay, so folks, there's a few bits of housekeeping here. For those of you that are still here, Paul there from Harborview Hotel, always looking to sell. Good man, Paul. We had a great event up in the Harborview Hotel for the Carnlough Whisky Festival last week. They put on a great show, great week of celebrations. More coming next year. We're hosting an event. We're hosting a week-long trip that's for the most part sold out. That takes place in September. That involves one of the days going from the North Coast across to Islay in Scotland for a day, visiting some Scotch whisky distilleries, visiting a peat bog, having our lunch over there, taking the boat across from Ballycastle and from Glenarm on the North Coast, and then heading across for the day. We have 2 to 3 seats available on it. I think it's £175 for the day all in. These are fast boats, small boats. Like there's 11 on some of the boats. There's 6 or 7 on the third boat. We have 3 boats going across. We have 2 or 3 seats anyway, because we've added a third boat. If anybody wants to join us, that is going to be on the 22nd of September. Literally 3 places. Like that's all that's there. And if you're interested, just message me, send me an email, message me on social media. We'll be advertising this to our own community for Irish Whiskey Experiences in the next few days. But because Paul has prompted it there, we'll happily throw it out there. And if they're all gone, we'll put you on a waiting list. As simple as that. Thanks for the reminder there, Paul. We've what else do we have to talk about? Next month, one of the whiskies confirmed is from Boann Distillery, and it's maybe the most mind-blowing whiskey I've ever come across, and you're going to taste it. I encountered this whiskey a year ago walking through Boann Distillery's warehouse with Peter Cooney, one of the founding family members of Boann Distillery. And before I even got to the cask, I smelt the cask. Like I could smell what was in the barrel before I ever got near it. I tasted it. I said, Peter, what is this? This can't be whiskey. What it was a single pot still whiskey that had spent 4 years at the time, 3 years. No, what was it? Yeah, 4 years in a bourbon barrel, 3.5 years in a bourbon barrel, and just under a year in a chocolate bitters cask. A chocolate bitters cask from the United States, which was a Woodford Reserve bourbon barrel that had been emptied of its bourbon, was then given to a bitters company who filled it with chocolate bitters, extracted out some of those bourbon notes into their bitters, of course, imparted bitter notes into the wood. That barrel came over to Ireland and was filled with this pot still whiskey from the bourbon barrel. Let me tell you what this is. This is a Nutella meets Ferrero Rocher in a bottle. Chocolate hazelnut spread distilled. It's like nothing I've ever tried. We bought the cask from Peter. We're bottling it up. It's going to be the 17th whiskey that Stories and Sips has released. We release it in the middle of September. You're going to taste it on our tasting at the end of September. And it's a single cask. We have 200 and something bottles of it. It's going to be just under cask strength. So we brought it down to about 54%, which is where we found, I think, was the best bang for the buck for the taste. And it's 120 euros. It's astonishing. Like, it's an astonishing whiskey. I've never tasted a whiskey like it. Anyway, that's in next month's kit. You're going to taste it. It'll be released beforehand, but because you're a 3 Drams member, you'll get access to it as a Stories and Sips release as well. So keep an eye out for that. That's coming. What else do we have to talk about? Jason says, great to hear all the 3 excellent success stories and all the humble with it. 100%. Like, didn't you see? I had to pull it out of the 3 lads, how successful these initiatives and their businesses were. And I want to keep hearing the great news in Irish whiskey. Doug says he's going to drink a few more and rewatch the stream. Good man, Doug. You're a great supporter. Doug was on one of our whiskey bus trips. Doug came from one of the whiskey capitals of the world, Kentucky, all the way over to Ireland to taste real whiskey, didn't you, Doug? And you had the best week, and we were just so lucky to have you. It was a treat for us to have you join us. We had a great time, and boy, did you take advantage of being in Ireland and take advantage of the Irish whiskies. Jamie says, I've been here from the start of 3 Drams. I'm finding it extremely hard to find a better lineup. Gurv Mahagut. Honestly, like, it's just the best night. It's just the best night, honestly. Paul says, £175, including lunch, 3 seats left. Paul's determined to sell these seats tonight before we go to bed. He's like an auctioneer. All right. Well, if anyone's interested in that trip, let me know, but I'll include it on an email when I go out tomorrow. We'll try and get you involved. Anyway, it's going to be a great day out. Great day out. Going to Scotland, drinking Scottish peated whiskies in the home of peated whiskies in Islay. There's 11 distilleries in the island. We're going to visit 2 or 3 of them, and we're going to go to a peat bog. We'll have a seafood lunch, an hour and a bit across, an hour and a half across on the boats. There'll be whiskey drank going across. There'll be whiskey drank coming back. Great day out. Can't wait for it. Other than that, folks, I think that's it. I think we've done it all. We've said a lot. This is the longest live stream we've had in a while, 2.5 hours, but I wouldn't have it any other way. This is Irish Whiskey Night, once a month, the last Thursday of every month. One goal: promote Irish whiskey, sample Irish whiskey, meet the people behind it, get excited about it, so that we can tell our friends about it and we can help grow the category. I'm immensely proud of Irish whiskey, and I'll forever be banging its drum. And with your support, I think we'll continue to send it around the world. Lauren says, from Irish Whiskey Experiences, she's also going to be selling the seats. So she's on it as well. So it's going to be a competition to sell these seats. So that means they're going to be sold. Thanks, Lauren. All right, folks, thanks very much for joining us and for supporting Irish Whiskey and supporting Three Drams. If you're not a Three Drams member and you've been listening in tonight wondering how do you get hold of one of these tasting kits, go to 3drams.com, sign up. It's €35 a month. We can't ship all over the world due to shipping logistical challenges and tariffs and the like, but see if your country is listed. We'd love to get one of these kits out to you every month, €35, including shipping, VAT, everything included. I think it's a great deal, and we'll keep doing that for as long as we can. All right. Sinead, folks, thanks very much, and have a good night, and we'll chat to you all next month.